Clips, clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alright, people tubes, the world is ending. The fucking sun is out in Glasgow. So this is going to be a short show because I need to get myself to a beer garden and A motherfuck P. Anyways, welcome to today's PoliTITS. If you like politics, but you hate all the tits, just watch your Daily PoliTITS fix. Anyway, Monday to Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. I'll try and start it a wee bit earlier. I'll say for obvious reasons, right? Because I need to try and catch all the streams. It's becoming more obvious to me now, technically, if you get me, what I need to do. So I need to get once I go live, I need to go through all the streams. So we'll look at as many talking heads from the English-speaking talking head media as we can. So, oh fuck, Sky News has stopped doing their DVR. Don't know if you can see that, right? I don't know if it's going to be permanent or what, but with my tinfoil hat on, I think that's a way of stop people critically dicing up the stuff and all that jazz, right? So look at the BBC, Sky News, Al Jazeera, Press TV, RT, so a wee spectrum from around all the talking holes. We'll even get the Krauts on board. That's the German
sector worldwide.
Down the bottom that will tell you who these people are funded by. We even get the frogs. And they'll pretty much all be telling us the same stuff with slightly different flavours. That's a Pentagon Spoke Show live thing that is now getting replayed on Fox. I don't even know why I bother with it anymore. Nobody's watching it, and Mike Graham is an insult to symmetry. And tits in. Like 2,000 people watching. How do they afford Mike Graham's? Nigel Vadgies. Dangleberries as well. We'll have a wee look at the ABC News in America. The ABC News in Australia. This Singaporean news. And what I'm also going to do is have a wee look at CNN websites, of course, if you can see that. Now this is interesting. It's Press TV's website. I went onto an old bookmark I had that had all these, you could open more than one. You can still get Press TV, it's just changed to presstv.com, shut down by the feds. So they done press.ir. farsnews.com, shut down by the feds. I fought the law, and .ir one. So you can still get all these things. This is like, what's the point of blocking them, you know? Well, it's petty in my mind. And the Mir News Agency, I think that's Iranian. And a wee look at Reuters, sometimes the head of the snake, even before the BBC. So I think I'm going to have to go to Sky News first, because they've no longer doing their DVR thing. See if I pause it, it'll just go live again. There's no pausability. Hopefully it's just a...
Good morning. It is at 9 o'clock on today's show.
Overlooking the airport.
About the economy, with the UK exiting recession.
Rupert Murdoch sold Sky News. Focused on started up Talk TV, and that's failing. 7,000. Talk TV's only getting 2,000.
For the government's gimmicky solutions.
And in sport, Bayer Leverkusen set a new European record of 49 matches unbeaten to reach the Europa League final.
It is Friday, the 10th
Don't show us any of that
May.
shit.
Here are your headlines. The Chancellor Jeremy Hunt tells me his tough decisions have paid
Is that
off.
amazing?
The UK
Look at the top of
rebounds
our
out
news.
of recession.
UK recession.
Families who've been having a really tough time, this is an indication that difficult decisions that we've taken over recent years are beginning to pay off, and we need to stick with them.
As more men, women and children attempt to reach the UK, a failed asylum seeker tells Sky News why he paid to be smuggled back to France.
They could arrest you anytime and deport you. They would send you to Rwanda or Iraq, or you end up going insane in detention.
Ooh.
That is why I came back.
I wonder how much Ricky Sunak sent him, paid him to do that.
A mother and daughter share how their lives have been forever changed by the infected blood scandal ahead of the inquiry report, which is released soon. With the future of British farming hanging on a knife edge, a Sky News Fault Lines special joins farmers to witness the challenges facing the sector.
Any genocide anywhere in the world, Sky News? No football. Wow. Oh, baby, baby, no. No, 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 no. What are you doing to me here, man?
And Haley confirmed.
Fucking that shite before even one word of Rafah. You having me having a giraffe? What the fuck is this pish? What is this?
And thanks for joining us here on the
We'll
Breakfast
get
Show
copyright
this Friday
strikes.
morning. Our top
It will
story,
go on, the
economic
stream
growth
won't get
exceeded
shut down, but
expectations
then
for the
later
first
on it
3
might
months
get
of the
blocked.
year, ending the
Not a
shallow
strike,
recession that
this
began
video
in the
gets
second
blocked.
half of 2023. The Chancellor told me earlier that it's proof tough decisions are paying off. More from him shortly, but first, let's look at the figures that did cross this morning. Well, first quarter growth.
Right, fuck you.
0.6%,
In the
slightly above
ass, Sky
August,
News.
economics.
When are you going to touch on what's happening in Rafah? Right, let's see what the BBCs are saying to it. Fuck Sky News in the ass. Oh, fuck yous in the ass as well. What the fuck is this? Fucking fairies prancing on fucking stage. I'd go to a club if I wanted to see that. Oh, but even the Eurovision's now dressed up in all the... Even the Eurovision's now dressed up in... all the PoliTITS of the day, innit? I know people can argue who started it. He hot me
Live
first.
from London,
but it's
this
happening.
is BBC News. The UK is out of recession with GDP figures released today showing the fastest economic growth in 2 years. Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive in Rafah in defiance of
Right,
US
at least they
calls
hot it
for restraint.
second.
Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer sets out his policy to stop migrant boat crossings, promising new powers to tackle
Boats,
people smuggling
that's
gangs.
on par with Sky
And
News.
Israel gets through to Saturday's Eurovision final amid protests
Then
about
we go
its
to that
war in
pish.
Gaza. And we caught up
Which-
with Prince Harry as he surprised a charity event for bereaved
Euro,
military
what's it
children
called?
in the UK
Eurovision?
before jetting off to Nigeria.
It's amazing.
Protests.
What Scotty's is doing with these kids is
And
absolutely
Harry. Sky News left Harry out because he's doing something good. If he was doing something bad or something they could talk about and point at and go, oh, look how bad he is, they would have reported on it.
Hello,
Top of the
I'm
hour.
Astim Shuri. Welcome to the programme. Now we start with some
want-
breaking news. They're the official figures released in the last hour that show the UK economy is no
I want to
longer
go
in
breaking
recession.
news.
The economy
talking
grew
about
by
that all morning.
0.6% in the first
Been up
3
since
months
like
of
5
this
this
year.
morning.
The UK entered recession
I think
after
I felt the
output
sun
fell during 2
was
consecutive
calling
quarters
me.
at the end of last year. Most economists had predicted growth of 0.4%. This is the fastest growth rate for more than 2 years.
Alright, thank fuck we live in the world of
Well, I think
Spaceballs.
it's encouraging in Europe, France.
Of the GDP
Individually getting better off. Most domestic products as individuals.
and also mortgages that are coming up for renewal. How are they feeling the cost of living right now?
Well, right, yeah. I mean, if you're in one of the groups who's been hit hard by
Right,
higher interest
see
rates,
this news?
which
It means
are
fuck
designed
all
to
your
slow
average
the
Joe on
economy
the street.
down
See
a
your
little
average
bit,
Joe on the
so we
street, he'll
don't
go out
have
today and
as
everything
much
will be
inflation
exactly the
as we
same.
had, and so it
None of
doesn't
this
get embedded and last.
0.06% pish.
Some of the people,
That
for
only
example,
matters
who
to cunts with
bought houses
bags,
with large
oh
mortgages
cash.
at low interest rates 3 or 4 years ago are really feeling the pinch, of course. Some of them seeing their mortgage rates double. And people who are renting, most of the people under 40 who have to rent because they can't afford to buy, those people have seen their rents go up in double figures. So you'll be hard pressed to tell them that they're better off because the economy is growing. It's if you divide it by individuals, it's not that great a picture. However, there's no doubt it is a better picture than for most of the last couple of years when we've had this shallow recession, and people have definitely been getting worse off. 0.6% is more like the norm that we were used to per quarter before the global financial crisis. Ever since then, we've had what a lot of people regard as anemic growth of.
Right, we'll pause it there, go back. Let's see what Al Jazeera are saying at the top of the hour. Have they got a timestamp? Yeah, they do. That's handy. Baby. Oh shit, I'm getting Justin Bieber stuck in my head now.
11 days in May.
Alright, Barry. In the morning, I thought that's fucking going to be copyrighted up the shitter as well, innit? I thought that was the intro to the news. For there's news, there's pre-news.
Israeli attacks on eastern Rafah intensify. More than 100.
Oh, good, my man. The sun's out. Short show today because I'm hitting a beer garden ASAP. Look, man, look back to see a Scotsman melt. It's a big ball in the sky. I don't know what that is. Mommy, what's the big fucking fiery thing in the sky? I've never seen it before. I need to phone my mom.
If Israel has to stand alone, we'll stand alone.
So Al Jazeera, off the bat,
to overcome disagreements with the US president,
is off with the fucking Rafah shit.
In Rafah will go ahead. Plus,
Sky News at the top of our shit didn't mention it. BBC mentioned it. Oh, that was meant to look amazing. That's drones or some shit. Fuck, I'm going to have to close these buttons to see the screen, man.
Israeli forces are escalating their attacks on Gaza's southern region of Rafah. Over 100,000 people have now fled Rafah since Monday, moving north to escape the worst of the fighting. At least 2 medical facilities in the south have now shut down, and they're sending people north for help.
That's precious.
More than 1.7 million Palestinians have sought shelter and safety in Gaza's southernmost city for months. On Monday, the Israeli military dropped leaflets in eastern parts of Rafah, ordering people to evacuate. The Israeli
it's raining tomorrow,
taking control of both the Rafah and Karam Abu Salem border crossings, preventing humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip. The areas marked in blue here is where Israeli forces are currently stationed. They've forced nearly 100,000 Palestinians to flee the southern part of the Strip. Ali Mahmoud's in Deir al-Balah outside Al-Aqsa Hospital. What's the situation there as thousands of people flee Rafah?
Oh, what's happening with Rama?
Yes, well, as the day progresses, the Israeli military is only intensifying the attacks across the eastern part of Rafah city, particularly in area of Salam neighborhood, Al Junaina neighborhood, that have been repeatedly targeted within the past 7 months, where destruction is quite visible for people who evacuated to these areas in the past 7 months and since the beginning of this genocidal war. There are more areas that are coming under intense bombardment right now, but what seems to be getting more intense right now is the expansion of the bombing campaign by the artillery shelling and airstrikes at the central part of Rafah city and all the way to where people have been evacuating for the past months, just in a way to enforce people into evacuation. So it's not only about the text messages right now or the phone calls or leaflets, but right now the use of extreme force by the Israeli military and the intimidating presence of quadcopters. These are small drones that are with guns attached to them, and they're causing quite a deal of panic for people because they can shoot at moving objects and they can fly at a very low rate. We got reported from an eyewitness who could clearly hear these drones are broadcasting sounds of tanks moving, screaming women and children, just to further cause a state of panic and fear, so people are eventually evacuating or leaving the areas. There seems to be, from the pattern of attacks, that the Israeli military is intending to expand its military operations, even though not officially stating that in media, but it's happening gradually as we hear from people. Meanwhile, the Israeli military also continue to strike at the eastern part of Khan Yunis city. We got a confirmed report of 8 people from one family. All 8 people, brothers and as well as cousins, were killed in a single airstrikes on their residential home. These people are from Abisan, that's the eastern part of the city, that was relentlessly attacked when the entire city of Khan Yunis was under the military control, as well as the invasion of the ground forces for the past months. These people were at their residential home that was destroyed, and they were sheltering in another one next to it. They were inspecting on the trails of destruction and devastation caused by the Israeli military.
Hani, I understand that there are aid agencies who are warning that the supplies of
Biden's not going to give them any big massive bombs.
Are beginning to run out.
If they go in on the ground and shoot every cunt with bullets.
What else do we know about that?
Oh man, it's laughable.
Oh, it's even getting worse.
Maybe
Not
I'll
only
get
just
lost
these two basic elements that represent the lifeline for the hundreds of thousands of displaced families moving from Rafah to the central area, but we're seeing limited resources are everywhere. Fuels because of the ongoing closure of Rafah crossing and Karm Abu Salam crossing for the 4th day in a row with not a single truck has been allowed to move into the Gaza Strip. None of them, no fuel is allowed. This put the remaining health facilities, including Kuwaiti Hospital and Field Hospital in Rafah City, at risk of shutting down their power generators and causing a damage to the ongoing operations inside the hospital, putting patients and injuries at risk because, again, we're looking at oxygen pipelines as well as emergency ICU units inside these hospitals are going to shut down without a fuel. Also, water is a problem right now here in overcrowded spaces in Deir al-Balah city, with more people moving into a small area already overcrowded with displaced families from the northern part in Gaza city, just making it more difficult for people to survive. All signs indicate right now, soon enough, with ongoing closure, signs of famine is going to appear, similar to what we've witnessed and is still going on in the northern part in Gaza City.
Hani Mahmoud, outside Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah. Hani, thank you very much. Well, our correspondent Hind al-Khadri is also in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. She's got the stories of some Palestinians who've fled the south.
Displaced for a 3rd time, the Al-Kafarna family are fleeing Rafah as best they can and with what little they have left.
They moved us from Gaza and told us to go to the south. After the south, they told us to go to Khan Yunis. After that, we came here to Seirat, and from Seirat to Deir al-Balah, and then they brought us to Rafah. They said it's a safe...
I'm going to leave it there because Al Jazeera, it's going to be that for a good 15-20 minutes. I imagine Press TV is going to be leading with that as well. Hopefully this pause has worked.
19, or that's the earliest sort of recording of...
Oh, my phone's telling me something interesting is happening. Let me see if I've caught the top of our news. Oh, I think that might be it.
Your headlines here on Press TV. Iranians head to the polls in runoff parliamentary elections. Leader of the Islamic Revolution Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei has cast his ballot. Fierce battles are reported between Palestinian resistance fighters and Israeli forces in the southern city of Rafah in Gaza. And hundreds of Columbia University alumni in the U.S. vowed to end all contributions to the university in protest of the harsh crackdown on pro-Palestine student protests. Hello everyone, it's 11:30 a.m. in Tehran and you're watching Press TV World News. And now, Election Day is upon us here in Iran and people are heading to polls for a runoff vote that will determine the final composition of the next parliament. Voting is taking place in 15 provinces.
No offence, Press TV, but I don't really have any interest in your internal politics. But it's noteworthy that it's happening, and of course, in the West probably won't recognise these elections. They're obviously not fair, and all that jazz. You know, some elections good, some elections bad. I heard somebody the other day. It was definitely. I cannot listen. I used to be able to listen to talk radio quite a bit, you know. But see now with what's happening and just the overt, the absolute obvious biased, all the presenters, you can hear their party line, you know, and I don't give a fuck about the points of view they're putting across, but just the overtly constant spinning of what's going on, and you can hear the party line out of all the presenters, you know, about this Palestine fucking Israeli pish, you know, you can't negotiate with terrorists. I even watched the Sky News presenter when he was speaking to one of the protesters outside Cambridge, one of the people that are camping down in Cambridge, and it was a live interview, and the guy was like, I'm just here with a collective to try and stop the relationship, the financial relationship with my university with Israel because they're committing genocide. And all the presenter did, you could hear he was getting told in there, can you condemn what happened on October the 7th? He's like, I had nothing to do with what happened on October the 7th. As far as I'm aware, my university doesn't fund Hamas. And the guy's like, but everybody can condemn the killing of innocents everywhere, surely. And he's like, yeah, I agree with you. And the presenter's like, no, you're not agreeing with me. I'm putting it to you like lawyer shit talk, man. Like, I'm putting it to you, can you not condemn October 7th attacks? Like, I'm here representing a collective to talk about what's happening, to talk about defunding Israel to stop the genocide. And the presenter was like, right, one last question. Asked the question. The guy done brilliant. I've got it. Well, probably deleted it actually. I had it recorded. And the guy dodged the question. And then the guy went, another final question. Couldn't get out on what he wanted for his Sky News hit piece. Anywho, so Iran is casting votes. Very good. Let's see. This is, oh no, right, no, fuck, I'm genuinely going to a beer garden later, but so I'm not playing a drinking game this morning.
Meanwhile, now over to Gaza news, where fierce battles have been reported between Palestinian resistance fighters and Israeli forces in Gaza's southern city of Rafah, where about 1.4 million Palestinians have sought shelter. Troops have blown up several buildings already in their latest attacks in Rafah. Eyewitnesses have spoken of a night of fire in the city amid strikes by tanks and Israeli jets. Regime has long planned this large-scale ground offensive in Rafah, despite international objections over the humanitarian consequences. Israel's already seized Rafah's border crossing with Egypt, which is the main entry point for aid into all of Gaza. The UN says the regime is now preventing anything or anyone from getting in or going out of Gaza. Israel, meanwhile, has struck other areas of the besieged territory, killing several Palestinians. Over 34,900 people have so far been killed in Gaza since Israel unleashed its onslaught in early October. And earlier we were joined by Moti Abu Musab, our correspondent in the city of Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, and he gave us the latest about the situation in the besieged territory.
Let me begin with the latest news coming from Khan Yunis city, whereas at least 8 Palestinian civilians were reportedly killed over the last moments after the Israeli artillery shelling was maintained against Abbasan neighborhood. In the meantime, the Israeli attacks actually were maintained against Rafah city relentlessly. We are talking about dozens of the Palestinian residential buildings were targeted and destroyed over the last night due to the continuous unrelenting Israeli airstrikes and the artillery shelling that was maintained against different parts of that city, including
so they've encircled it, cut off the Egyptian crossing. Apparently, this is disputed, opened up a crossing between with Israel, but that's disputed with some people. And they're just shelling it.
For the last 5
I'm assuming that'll be artillery and
airplane
strikes and shit like
here,
that.
the Israeli occupation force
I'm not much
also
of a
maintained
military
their strikes
expert,
and attacks against the eastern part of the middle area, including Al Maghazi and even the northern part of Al Nusayrat refugee camp.
So how's the weather we use, our man?
Buildings were detonated and blown up by the Israeli occupation forces using the explosive devices. While when it comes to Gaza City, more Israeli massacres were committed over the last night. The Israeli warplanes carried out several airstrikes against the residential buildings, including, as you know, Ashati refugee camp, Al Wahda Street, and even As-Sabra neighborhood and Al-Zaytun neighborhood as well. These areas actually were under heavy bombardment and attacks over the last night. At least 5 Palestinian civilians were reportedly killed at the recent attack that targeted a residential building in As-Sabra neighborhood. Moving to the northern part of Gaza Strip, the
if these pausing things are working, let's see what Sky News is doing. Don't know if you can see the DVR ability on Sky News has been took away from yesterday. They might stick it back on, it might just be a mistake or something, you know, it's easily done. But it obviously does make it harder to do this kind of stuff, what I'm doing, like pause it, rewind it, take clips, hear something, and then be able to go and catch it, you know. But that's just my conspiracy brain. Cause first time I noticed this, they're even advertising Talk Sport, Talk Radio show shite, was GB News, but they now do it. So maybe Sky News will turn it back on at some point.
Via transfusions here in the UK.
Oh, that's the blood stuff. Right, so still no touched on Israel.
Over the last
to press ahead with a military assault on Rafah. Now, Mr. Netanyahu was speaking to US media after President Joe Biden confirmed that the US had withheld a delivery of munitions and could halt more shipments if Israeli forces attack Hamas in Rafah, a densely populated city in the Gaza Strip. Mr. Netanyahu said Israel had to defeat Hamas
over in
Rafah.
In fact, I've got a fucking shed load of fucking family over in
Yolande Nell, who's in Jerusalem. For us, Yolande, good to have
really
you. Now, what's the latest in what's becoming an increasingly public rift between Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu?
Met a few of them over
I think
the years.
those latest comments by Mr. Netanyahu speaking in English to an American audience were more conciliatory than we had heard from him before. Certainly.
So if you know any Houstons, let me know.
With Israel's closest ally, and he was reiterating the need on Israel's behalf to go in to Rafah, to have a bigger invasion there, to deal with Hamas battalions that he says are still in that city, and to therefore be able to get a full victory over Hamas in Gaza. Now, of course, what the US and what the world is really worried about is that Rafah is so crammed full of displaced people. There are more than 1 million of them there, close to the Egyptian border. And already what we've seen in just the past few days with a relatively limited incursion of Rafah by Israeli forces is that, you know, humanitarian operations there are in a new crisis.
And meanwhile, there's so much hope and focus on those ceasefire talks. Where do they stand amidst all of this back and forth?
I mean, those talks really broke down last night. We saw Hamas and Israel sending away their delegations. And although the mediators, the Egyptians, the Qataris, the Americans say they're continuing to work on closing the gaps, the fundamental difference remains there. Hamas has said it's ready to sign up to a mediator's proposal.
I know the capital of Australia isn't Sydney, obviously, but I always forget
they want the complete withdrawal of Israeli troops.
It's one of those trivia questions that everybody gets wrong, you know?
Whereas Israel
everybody
is
always
really only
assumes
prepared
Sydney.
to sign up to a truce in return for the release of its remaining hostages still being held by Hamas. but at this stage,
Don't
it's
know
not
if you
ready
get
to
that sense
agree to an
staying
end
for
to the
it,
war.
All right, Yolande, thank you for that. And of course, we'll keep hearing from
Canberra.
Yolande as that story develops.
Are you in Canberra?
Now, over in the
K-Max,
US,
is that
the
what you're
porn
saying?
star Stormy Daniels, at the centre of Donald
Oh,
Trump's
you got to love it when you get porn star on
ended her
fucking
testimony in court in New
porn
York.
star and
Under
president
fierce
in the
cross-examination, she
same
was accused of trying to
piece.
profit from the case. The former president is charged
This
with
is my
hiding a
sunflower
payment
oil
to
to
her
deal with my
to cover up
squeaky
an
chair.
alleged affair before the 2016 election. He's pleaded not guilty to
That's good.
34 counts of falsifying business records. Sarah Smith has the latest from New York.
Stormy Daniels' lawyer posted this picture of his client, looking very happy to have finished with a hostile cross-examination. In the courtroom, she was repeatedly accused of being a liar, of having made up the story about having sex with Donald Trump in 2006.
Oh,
Referring
don't
to her
say
career
that.
in adult films, Mr. Trump's
You
attorney
lose
said to Ms.
votes.
Daniels, "You have a lot of experience in
let's see
making
if I
phony
found the
stories about
damage.
sex appear to be real." She
You know
replied, "The sex in the
What,
films
your
is
magic,
very
your
much real,
fucking-
just like what happened to me in that room," referring to her alleged sexual encounter with Mr. Trump, and then saying, "If that story was untrue, I would have
Oh,
written it to be a
capital?
lot
No,
better."
I think
Donald Trump
Barry was
denies
saying
ever
Melbourne
having
was the
sex with
capital.
Stormy Daniels and claims the case against him is bogus.
This is a Frankenstein case. They took a dead misdemeanor, they attached it to a dead alleged federal felony and zapped it back into life. So many of us are just amazed to watch this actually walk into court because it's not a recognizable crime.
The judge and jury kept straight faces as Ms. Daniels described being called a human toilet online and replying that she was the best person to flush that orange turd down. Because she tweeted a link to her online store selling Team Stormy merchandise the day Mr. Trump was indicted, Ms. Daniels was accused of trying to make money from this case. "Not unlike Mr. Trump," she said. He sends out frequent emails to supporters trying to raise money to defend himself. Stormy Daniels'
He's no on
over a
trial,
day and a
Hen.
half was explicit and explosive,
No, in the
talking about
witness
Donald
box.
Trump in black silk pyjamas and describing having sex with him. But it may not have much impact
where's
on
the
his criminal
spanking with
case.
the magazine?
Legally,
Come
it
on,
doesn't
BBC.
really matter whether Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels had sex. In fact, his defence team have been arguing for a mistrial, saying all this explicit detail has nothing to do with the case in hand. They were
Oh, it's
denied
working its
that.
magic out, kinda.
Donald Trump doesn't deny paying
there we
Stormy
go.
Daniels to keep quiet. And what he's actually
baby.
charged with is falsifying
Non-squeaky
business
chair.
expenses because he marked those hush money payments as legal expenses. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the sex. Sarah Smith, BBC News, New York.
Scottish, told you we rule the world.
Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.
Alright, no, that makes sense. Barry, what you said. I was confused initially, but I get you now. Because there's obviously those different, I say obviously, different regions within Australia.
Arriving
Is
across
Australia-
the English Channel on the across the English Channel. on
Brown
boats.
people in boats.
Labour says
It wouldn't
will
be
cancel the
news
government's plans to
without
send
some brown
migrants to
people in
Rwanda
motherfucking
if it
boats,
is
yeah.
elected, and instead use funds to create a new border security command. Well, let's speak to Helen Catt, who is live in Westminster for us. Helen, good to have you. Now, what are we expecting to hear today?
Well, Labour has been under pressure for a while to set out more detail about how it plans to tackle the issue of people being smuggled across the Channel in very dangerous small boats. And so what we're going to hear from Sir Keir Starmer today is his or Labour's plan to do that. And what we're being told
I didn't need to say very small boats. Is that because they're going to let big fucking oil tankers in full of them now?
Is set to be put towards
The devil's in the
Rwanda scheme,
detail.
and instead to set up, as you mentioned, this border security command unit, which would oversee hundreds of new intelligence officers, cross-border police officers and others.
Who doesn't want that?
Together with
Tommy
European
Robinson will be
partners
loving
to
this.
try to
Zeke
tackle
Allen
these
frog marching
smuggling
into an
gangs.
authoritarian
And also
state.
that these
Fucking
officers, these agents,
lockdown
they would be
borders with our
given
fucking
powers that are
Stone
usually only
Island
available
shuts.
to counter terrorism officers at the moment, so they could do things like, for example, stopping and searching people. At
All
the
brought to
border. They
you
can do
by
things like
Labour.
closing bank
The
accounts
People's Party.
and
It's
target
kind of
them
like
in
fucking
other
GB
ways.
News.
So that
The
is
People's
Labour's
News
plan
channel.
for this,
Ah,
and of course
what
the main
fucking
difference
people are
with
we
the government
talking about
is
here?
that they would not enact the Rwanda plan. The government is saying, well, it is already working with European partners to tackle smuggling gangs too.
All right, Helen, thank you for that. Well, let's speak to Andrew Fisher, who served as the Director of Policy of the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn from 2015 to 2019. Thank you for your time. Now, I want to get your reaction before we listen to Helen there about the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer's plans on tackling the criminal smuggling gangs as a priority.
Yeah, good morning. Look, I think it's very welcome that Labour says it's going to scrap the Rwanda scheme, which frankly is a stain on the United Kingdom's reputation. It's a horrible scheme that this government has set up to try and shirk our responsibilities to refugees genuinely coming to this country, fleeing war and persecution. And it's great that that's going to be scrapped. On the people smugglers, look, nobody thinks it's acceptable that people are being smuggled across the channel in small boats. It's very dangerous, and it's not a safe way
we
to
want
do it.
the large ones.
The
big massive fucking boats. That's what we need to do. We need to break out the big massive boats.
Legal routes to claim
Get
asylum.
with the fucking programme.
No way in which the vast majority of people coming, and they're coming from countries like Syria, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, can get here, is by those.
I wonder why they're coming from their countries. Who turned those countries into shitholes? God forbid. Let's all just be goldfish and not have a fucking memory more than fucking 3 months. If that. Let's forget Maidan. Let's forget Iraq. Let's forget Syria. Let's forget fucking Wesley Clark's list, as all these countries are now in perpetual warfare with fucking Abdul one want to kill Abdul other. You know, it's no coincidence, man. You can't invade the place and take over. You throw a fucking couple of $1 million about and arm both sides and get them to kick fuck at each other perpetually. But the job's a good one. All the minerals and wealth is just sitting there for when you're ready for it. Let all the Abduls kill each other. Maybe the strong will survive. Maybe it'll just be perpetual warfare. Either way, that's what is it they call the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It's a book that's out there that somebody who was participating in stuff like this explains it. And when you hear it explained, you're like, it makes perfect sense.
Irregular routes, whether that's stowed away in the back of lorries, which we know is very dangerous, as we've seen with the case of the Vietnamese people who died in Tilbury. And
Vietnam, why would they want to leave the Vietnam? Why would they want to leave Vietnam?
In the past
I thought we get rid of all the Agent Orange and
what we need to do is
napalm.
close the market for people smugglers. This isn't about crackdowns on people smugglers. That's not going to solve this. What we need to do is shrink their market by actually having a humane refugee system in this country that treats people fleeing persecution as people that need our help and assistance. And that's what we're failing to do.
So Andrew, what you're saying is similar to what the Refugee Council has said, that it's more important to create safe routes for refugees instead. But what many members of your own party, as well as the Conservatives, would argue is that some migration is explained by people seeking a better life economically, that it puts pressure on the UK, on its own services in terms of cost, and that some deterrence is needed, whether that is the Rwanda scheme or these plans that have been announced by the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer. What's your response to that?
Well, of course, we need a fair asylum system, and look, there is an asylum system in this country. The Home Office is currently approving about 70% of cases in the last couple of years.
Let's take that man in the boat on face value, the one that wanted to pay
because they're deemed
money
to
to
be
get
by the Home
home,
Office, and others
get back
win
to
on
France
appeal as well. So
because of these procedures. Well, the answer would be anybody that comes into this country, you make it almost impossible. You tighten up on the employment laws so people who aren't here legally can't work. Then you don't give them any benefits at all, and you create tent cities. Like, that's a nice way of saying it. But let's say in camps. But they're in jail. They're not in jail. It's like a big fucking camp. They get fed and watered. While they get processed at the very minimum, And if they're deemed to be legal, out you go. You need to stay in the streets. Sounds dehumane, but at the moment, there's 1,000,001 countries that don't subscribe to that shit. So, like that guy, they'll all jump ship. So, the UK could solve it like that, boom, overnight, by saying we're sovereign and we're going to do our own sovereign thing. Fuck you, everybody else. These camps, call them concentration, they're no work camps. They don't need to work. They can't work. That's the whole point. They get food and water. That's all they get, kept alive. I don't know, just do that. And then the incentive for anybody to come here to the UK illegally or without, and the asylum process as well. See, if you want to claim asylum, make sure you turn up with documents. People without documents don't get in. Even if you have got a glass eye and a wooden leg. Right, and the problem would be solved, man. Call me a genius. What happened there? That guy just, I thought, that guy's so exciting.
That the world is made of cheese. That doesn't make it so. You know, the government the government is not being honest and truthful here. And unfortunately, it's legislated and got it through Parliament to say Rwanda is a safe country. It's not. And, you know, we know that it's not because the UK has accepted asylum seekers from Rwanda in recent years. So it's clearly not.
All right, Andrew Fisher, thank you for that. The world is... What can we expect from this trip, and what have we seen so far?
As you fly, as a father,
In Gaza is casting a shadow over the Eurovision Song Contest in Sweden. Israel has reached the final with a song performed by Eden Golan. She received claps, cheers and some booing when she took to the stage in Malmo. Earlier, thousands of people protested in the...
El Mags, I think, who's the Romulan, what's his name again? Sunak. I think Sunak was right in the sense you need to de-incentivise these people, illegal immigrants, people with no chance of getting asylum to come here. And it's as simple as that. You make the conditions that they're walking into a hell lot shitter than everybody else. And they'll all, like fucking rats looking for a fucking good home, they'll scurry away and find somewhere else. Somewhere that's warm. They might get a house. They won't be stuck in big tent cities without the ability to go fucking anywhere. Fucking go to the society or anything. And bag and tag them. Fingerprint them and all that as they come in, man. So just scoop them up off the beaches. Throw them into vans. I'm pretty sure more reasonable people would have a debate with them and we could find a more reasonable way. But that's my starting point. I don't think it's rocket science, you know. I don't know why. What was the point of leaving the EU if we're still fucking on all these international agreements and human rights this, human rights that? You're either sovereign or you're not. Right? And if you're sovereign, you should have the balls to do what the fuck you want. Especially Rule Britannia, man. Anyway.
The city against Israel's involvement. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wished her success, saying she had already succeeded against an ugly wave of anti-Semitism. Well, our correspondent Sarah Rainford is in Malmo.
Speaking to police
offer them citizenship with a fucking 1 year in the Ukrainian army.
There are a lot of them. They're definitely being vigilant. We know that the terror
when you go, there's a battalion of fucking Abduls. Probably need to feed them for fucking a year before they're up to strength.
Trying to keep this as calm and as peaceful as possible. They have community police officers, they call them the dialogue police here. They are right along the route of any of the protests, and the mood has been peaceful, although the mood of the protesters themselves is passionate too. They are angry that Israel has been allowed to take part in Eurovision this year at a time when the Israeli military is bombing Gaza, at a time of humanitarian crisis, and the slogans and the chants are pretty furious. So the mood is strong, the crowds are growing. There were probably 10,000 or so protesters there according to police yesterday, although some quotes and estimates are a bit higher than that. But as I say, it has been peaceful, it has been contained. All of this is organised and planned in advance with the authorities. We haven't seen any spontaneous protests of any particular size. So I wouldn't say it was tense here, but I would say that there are plenty of people who want to make their views heard, and that view that Eden Golan, Israel, should not be at Eurovision, particularly talking about what they call hypocrisy, because, of course, Russia has been banned from Eurovision because of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and lots of people at the protest will mention that when they tell you why they've come out to protest. I should just mention as well, perhaps Sweden's most famous political activist was also in the crowd of protesters yesterday. I had a quick chat to her, Greta Thunberg. She told me it was her moral obligation to speak out. She was joining the protest, she said, because she considered it inexcusable.
Right, I refuse to give her any time at all, man. It's child abuse.
Sarah Rainsford there. And finally, Justin Bieber has announced he's going to be a father.
Oh, God, man. Aye, welcome to the news. Who's this dried up fucking pig in lipstick? Oh, my bad, man. Right, well,
I've been told to
be interesting to see what RT's saying to it, actually. I don't think I've caught them there.
Dollars for the recent, you know, this is.
Shows the Soviets fighting the Nazis.
They did, and
that's what we're getting. The American War. Just news. Feel sorry for the kid Bieber as I've had. No, really, mate. The kid's going to be fucking minted. If it's a wee boy, he's going to have pun, hang, Britain.
Crying hypocrisy over the double standards over the Ukraine and Gaza conflicts.
They've shown a double standard when it comes to the treatment of Russia and the treatment of Israel, and for that reason I think it's a hypocrisy to let them participate.
If we have to, we will fight tooth and nail. If we have to stand alone,
now that's what you call a fucking comb over.
With the Pentagon suspending arms deliveries to Israel, Netanyahu vows to fight on without American support.
I'm fucking going baldy fast, look. I'm just going to lip it all
we will
off,
advocate
man. I'm very
for an
close to getting a
orderly
Mexican from the
multipolar
next
world
day.
And a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization.
Visiting Serbia and then Hungary, Xi Jinping says China is always open to expanding cooperation with states that put their national interests
I need Dave
above
before I lose all my hair, man. It looks like it's fucking going that way.
Eternal flame here in Donetsk city in tribute to the 27 million men, women, children, soldiers, partisans that lost their lives during the Great Patriotic War.
Civilians in the frontline Russian Donetsk Republic celebrate Victory Day under Ukrainian rocket and drone attacks, which caused multiple casualties on the day of commemoration. I'm Rachel Rubel, live in Moscow. You're watching RT International. With the Eurovision Song Contest in full swing in Sweden, voices supporting Palestine have been very loud. Thousands of protesters gathered to show their opposition to Israel's participation. People were seen with signs calling to stop the genocide in Gaza, Palestinian flags, and pictures of the destruction and death in the enclave. Despite the protests, Eurovision has resisted calls to ban Israel. Demonstrators expressed their anger over the country's participation in the competition.
It's horrible what's happening in Gaza right now, and I think a lot of more people should be demonstrating, protesting, especially now when the EU has allowed Israel to participate in Eurovision, but not Russia.
What jab was that, buddy? The COVID one, and he had a reaction to it? Well, he wouldn't be the only one.
It's important to show that we're against it here.
They've shown
reaction free?
Double standard when it comes to the treatment of Russia and the treatment of Israel, and for that reason I think it's a hypocrisy to let them participate.
We say we are the democracy, nobody's doing nothing, we're all watching, children are dying, people are dying, nobody's doing nothing. This can't go on. There's no stop to this. People blame each other, but We need to support each other for this. The people are here for Eurovision, trying to celebrate. There's nothing to celebrate. It's an ongoing war. People are killing each other. Children are dying.
In eastern Rafah, Israeli forces claim they've eliminated 50 Hamas militants, also discovering several tunnels in the area. Ceasefire negotiations in Cairo failed 2 days earlier with Hamas and Israel unable to agree on core demands. The IDF has now forcibly displaced over 80,000 Palestinians from Rafah in just 3 days, according to the UN Relief Agency, with the total number of people in the area believed to be 1.5 million. The Israeli military attacked Palestinian targets after taking over the Rafah border crossing earlier this week, deliberately destroying them with tanks. The vehicle could be seen maneuvering in front of an I Love Gaza sign at the crossing before running it over. Israeli warplanes reportedly continued the bombing of the densely populated city. One of the IDF's latest strikes killed 8 civilians, including 3 children,
the vast majority of the
residential building. That brings the death toll since the October 7th Hamas attack to more than 38,800
It just shows how small and petty.
people.
But if you were in the army, that's exactly what you would do.
Israel's main ally, Washington, has voiced its concerns over the operation in Rafah. The U.S. has temporarily suspended the shipment of some 3,500 bombs to the country. According to the Pentagon spokesperson, a final decision on the weapons delivery is yet to be made.
We paused one shipment of weapons consisting of 1,800 2,000-pound bombs and 1,700 500-pound bombs. We've not made a final determination on how to proceed with this shipment.
Morning, everybody. Remember, Monday to
Friday,
hypotheticals. 5 to 9, I'll try and kick off so I can get all the streams kind of set up.
And any ground operations there, and I'll just leave it there.
Get a wee
with U.S. support to Israel
spectrum of the
wavering, Prime
news.
Minister Benjamin Netanyahu
Then-
has promised to continue the fight
Actually,
even
what? I don't
if his country is
even really know anybody that kind of does this stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Just saying I don't.
I already
I've never
said
came
that if
across.
we have to, we will fight tooth and nail. But we
Suppose I
have
came
much
across
more than
clips where they
nails.
compare two
And with
news
the same
outlets, but
greatness
no
of
extremes
mind,
really.
with God's help,
go
we
through
will
it
win
all.
together. We are determined, and we are united.
No fucking
against our
surrender,
enemy and those who
BB.
seek our souls.
In the wake of that move by Washington, the German opposition is now
Bombs
urging
on
Berlin
hold.
to follow
Aye, we've
suit
got enough
by
of now to
halting
fucking
its
kill the
own
fuckers.
arms exports
There's
to
a wee
Israel.
PR victory for you.
The federal government must follow the example of the US and stop arms deliveries to Israel immediately. Only international pressure and an arms embargo can stop the Netanyahu government from invading Rafah. Germany is the second largest arms supplier to Israel after the US,
We'll
and
go and see what
therefore
the Krauts
shares
are saying, yeah.
responsibility for the deaths in Gaza. The federal government must now do everything to prevent further civilian casualties and therefore stop arms exports.
The German government must stop its largely uncritical cooperation with the Netanyahu government.
I think that's the
faces
same
a
one, isn't it?
majority
No, it's
population in
not.
Israel that rejects the aggressive policy of genocides against the Palestinians, and the German government is still supporting Netanyahu.
People that get that
quite
footage must
uncritically.
make
So
a
the
mint
demand
selling that
of
to all the
this
news
party
organisations.
is
No, it's all the
good
same
and it's in
clips.
accordance with the
Shorter,
peace
longer,
movement. But until the
etc.,
German government
etc.,
follows
on
it,
all the
I think there
channels.
must be more pressure from the peace movement, and there must be a 180 degrees turn, a U-turn.
Soon go and
in the
have a wee look
politics.
what the Krauts are saying.
British Foreign Minister, this is David Cameron, has been asked if London is planning to stop sending weapons to Israel as well. I just want to briefly take a listen to what David Cameron said in response to
Oh
that
no, I've
question.
not watched it yet, Barry.
Very fundamental difference between
I've,
the US situation and the UK situation. The US
I've
is
not
a
watched it yet, mate.
massive state supplier of weapons to Israel.
It's just no in my, at the moment it's going to sound strange, it's no in my routine. Buddy, drop a link in the chat, I'll make sure it goes up. And I'll stick a wee tab up and I'll watch it.
You know, signitigantly less than 1% of their total. So I think that is a big.
I know I'll probably switch it off because Piers Morgan makes my fucking skin crawl. But maybe Abby Martin, she got a skirt on.
Export weapons to Israel.
Got a skirt on,
What do you
definitely
make of
watch it.
what David Cameron just said there?
We see that there's a lot of hypocrisy in what, let's say, the Western world is doing in the moment in that war. If there would be a real pressure of the, let's say, the whole international community,
I've never heard of such a thing.
and the Western nations which supply, of course, if you do licenses, for weapons and weapon production, you support this war. So
I've got 2 vapes, and both of them I've used so much
we are not responsible, but there should be an
tried to
attempt
charge it
to
as I'm
really
smoking
make
it,
pressure on
which is,
Netanyahu,
you know, like your old
the
mobile
government,
phones, the
to
charger
say,
thing used to
follow
get a bit
the
slack,
majority
and you
of
used to
your
have to
people,
try
follow
to make the
majority
wire
of the
a
world,
certain way so it would take a charge. Both
population,
my vapes have been like that for
which
ages.
is
In fact,
bringing
that's why I
forward
got
the
2
demand of
vapes,
a
because my
ceasefire,
other one was
demand
doing
of
that, then my new
stopping
one started doing it
the
as well. It's like,
genocidal
fucking,
warfare,
thank fuck they're still taking a
which
charge.
is going there in
That's
the
the most
direction of a
important thing.
genocide. So that would be better.
Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has criticized pro-Palestinian protesters for not knowing much about Middle Eastern history.
I have
I've
had
heard
many
that so much.
conversations, as you have had, with a lot of young people over the last many months now. And you're right, they don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East.
Well, meanwhile, Clinton herself, while working as Secretary of State, did her part to contribute
You're
to the
right. So somebody said that to her, but now they're saying that she said you're right. We came, we saw, he died, and started cackling like a crazy witch, man. That was what happened there. The Illuminati!
In the Middle East. She famously joked in a TV
Illuminati
interview about the murder
attack
of former Libyan
live.
leader Muammar Gaddafi. She's also been criticized as being responsible for the deaths of American diplomats after the U.S. Embassy in Benghazi was attacked due to not taking action despite knowing there was
remember
a
that.
threat. During the Syrian crisis, she tried to convince Congress to go along with a plan for a limited, targeted military response. Clinton also pushed for the removal of Syrian President Assad from power and backed a proposal to provide weapons to Syrian rebels. Palestinian analyst in Israeli affairs, Khaldun Barghouti, says Hillary Clinton has no
Naughty
right
lady.
to slam pro-Palestinian protesters.
This is not enough for her to say or to accuse the demonstrators or the protesters in the United States that they are mistaken. They have seen on TV what is really happening in Gaza, and they were motivated even for humanitarian, maybe, feelings or emotional feelings, and that's a human feeling. When it comes to Israel, then United States feels that it has the right to do anything to support the state of Israel by accusing the protesters, even by being anti-Semites. Now they are mixing these things together. So if you criticize Israel or Zionism, then you will be
anti-Semite.
if you criticize Israel and Zionism, you will be accused of being anti-Semite, and that's not fair. This is the U.S.
ridiculous.
and Western policy in general. Their superiority in their own opinion gives
And
them
it
the
allows
right
you
to
to
do
see the
anything,
Zionists
even
from people
tracking
that
their
are
own
not
people
on board
just
with the
because they
Zionist
decided to
project.
stand with the Palestinians.
Well, the president of China has paid his first visit to Hungary in 20 years, marking developing
And-
relations between the countries.
which a lot of
Xi
people
Jinping and Prime Minister Viktor Orban spoke with the news media.
may or
and
may not
highlighted
be
the
aware
mutual
of or
goals
even
they hope
thought
to
about.
achieve.
I would argue there's more
Now we have a
Christians
multipolar
all
world
in
order, and one of the main
worldwide
columns of
on the
this new
Zionist
world
project,
order is the People's
which I
Republic
think is
of China.
self-evident when
It
you
plays
see
a
the
pivotal role
support
in global politics
that
and
Israel
economy.
blindly gets, because that's the support for Israel.
China
And
supports
that's,
Hungary
you're
in
asking
playing a
how
bigger
can you
role in
support
the
that? They're
EU
supporting
and promoting
the
greater
greater
progress in China-EU
Zionist
relations.
project.
We will advocate vigorously for an equal and
And
orderly
it's
multipolar
all
world
Christian
and a
countries.
universally beneficial
Look where
and
all the
inclusive
arms are
economic
coming from.
globalization.
People are saying it
The two
out
leaders
loud
also
and
announced
don't
the
realise what they're
broadening
saying.
cooperation on
All the
all
arms
strategic levels, from
can stop
reconstruction
Israel
to
like
the
that,
development
dead
of
in their tracks.
infrastructure and the nuclear
America
industry.
and
Hungary is not only
Germany,
China's
Christian
closest
countries,
EU ally, but also an important trade and investment partner.
stop
The
sending
countries
them
signed
arms.
18 agreements following the meeting.
We're witnessing what's happening live,
But during his
pretty
European
much.
tour, the Chinese leader also visited
And the
France.
spin that's
President
getting
Xi
said
then
to
received a warm welcome in
justify
Serbia,
it,
the second
fucking
country of
carry
the
it on.
three-nation European
And
tour.
everybody's scratching it.
According
Well,
to Serbian
I'm
President
not. I
Alexander
know
Vučić,
exactly
the
what's going
friendship
on, man.
between
It's
the two nations is
people who are part
ironclad.
of the
We spoke
greater
to Sava
Zionist
Sembovic,
project.
analyst
And they're
for
quite
Serbian
happy
Center for
for
Social
the whole
Stability,
world
who
to
says
sit around and watch the
Beijing
Jews.
has always had close relations with Eastern Europe,
And the
no
Christians are
Western
sitting
pressure
like
can
that.
change that.
The Pope's out there kissing feet and
the
shit.
Chinese and the Serbian people
Nah,
have
what's
a
going
great
on?
connection going decades back.
Genocide? Not us Christians.
Serbian state and China have never had any problems, mutual problems between each other. So this was
Don't you know
not to
the history did we tell
some
you?
good relationship or to win over Serbia, but to cement the already great relations and the strategic partnership that we have between the two countries. And the Western media always tries a little bit to, you know, to criticize anyone who is cooperating with China, but it is interesting that they don't criticize so much their own governments.
Are becoming the big dong
nations.
in
The
town.
presidency was also in France. Cooperate
And the old big dongs
great
don't
with
like it.
China. We've also had years back a good cooperation in Great Britain with Germany. So when that kind of cooperation happens, it's not such of a big theme in the Western media, but when a country which is not a part of the European Union, not a part of any military alliance, has its own independent relationship, a small country with China, that somehow becomes a theme, and that should not surprise anyone. Of course, it is a matter for the elites and for the
elites,
classes
the Illuminati, and the elites
who want to exert their own kind of influence in such small countries as
What was the
Serbia is,
interview
and,
like, Barry?
are always
Was it good,
concerned when we find partners that are more suited to us.
Piers
and that
Morgan
have a
is
good relationship
highly
with us and that we do
entertaining.
it independently. I think that independent segment of independent cooperation with China is the most concerning part for them.
Mass Victory Day celebrations have been cancelled in frontline Russian regions over possible provocations from Ukraine. Despite that, locals went to war memorials to pay tribute to their ancestors. RT's Steve Sweeney took a closer look at how people in the Donetsk Republic celebrated the important day under rocket and shelling attacks.
Victory Day here in Donetsk, no mass celebrations, no parades, but the people still want to pay tribute, so they're being creative.
Oh, look at the Hells Angels!
The campaign is making its way across the city to the Donbass Defenders Memorial.
It is in light of today's events that we understand how important it is to remember and celebrate
Why does he
Victory
look so
Day,
funny?
because we see how history is being rewritten, how concepts are being replaced, the swapping of winners and losers. And we are obliged not only to remember ourselves what happened in those difficult years, but also to pass it all on to younger generations.
Personally, as a mother of two sons, I'm interested in us having traditional values, our bonds, no matter how pretentious it may sound. I, like all of us, members of the motorcycle club and residents of Donetsk in general,
the heroes
Remember,
that
Ukraine,
lost their lives
Russian propaganda.
during the Great Patriot 43 ago.
Oh, hold on. Little boots on the ground. Oh, shittity shit.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk admitted NATO troops are already on the ground in Ukraine.
Yeah! Aye, but they're training
NATO
people.
today is
They're on the
helping as
front
much as
lines.
it can. Without NATO's help, Ukraine would not have been able to defend itself for so long. Well, and there are some troops there. I mean soldiers. There are some soldiers there, observers, engineers.
An ex-NATO commander has called on the bloc to, quote, neutralize Russia's westernmost exclave of Kaliningrad if Moscow endangers regional security. And that's as more European leaders demand further military aid to Kiev, including manpower.
Cool, on the fire is there?
Marina Kosreva has more.
Whether they want to or not, Europeans are being dragged
morning,
into the conflict
Nick
with Ukraine, with more countries
Mate,
now
what a way to
calling
get
for
woke up,
boots
man, with
on
a
the
dog hump in
ground
your leg,
to
man, eh?
reverse Kiev's losing streak.
And the sun's shining, buddy. You know it's going to be a good day, bud, man. Go and stick the fucking lottery
Our
on.
troops have been training Ukrainians
Dog
in
humping
Ukraine
the
before
leg.
war, and we've been
Sun
doing
coming
that for many
out.
years. So returning to this
Could be a good
tradition might
day.
be quite doable. This could be a first step in President Macron's initiative.
President Macron shocked the world when he said that the West shouldn't rule out sending
Right.
troops to Ukraine. And
Got Sky News at it. Where's Sky News? And they've stopped doing their VAR. Have they brought it back? They have any. VAR. Fraudulent slip. I didn't mean VAR. DVR. DVR. Fucking hell, the record thing.
Stopping the small boats and targeting people smugglers, Sir Keir Starmer prepares to outline Labour's plans to tackle the migrant crisis. The Labour leader is due to speak in Dover in the next few minutes. We'll bring that to you live. As more men, women and children attempt to reach the United Kingdom, a failed asylum seeker tells Sky News why he...
There's the baby! I don't know why there isn't any women and children on those boats. Because they get fucking elbowed out the way.
Comes out of recession with faster than expected growth in the first quarter of the year. Cheap imports, labour supply issues and environmental levies. A Sky News special report on the challenges facing Britain's farmers.
My favourite
And
slur
Israel's Eurovision
on
entry makes it through to the finals.
Keir
That's
Starmer.
despite protests
It's Sir
against
Keir's
the
on the gear! Sir Keir's on the gear! He can't breathe through his nose because it is full of gear. Many come to see him, they stand and gaze at all. They remember Sir Keir is full of the fucking gear. Just getting ready for tomorrow.
Next few minutes with regards to his plans to stop the boats. Obviously,
yeah, man, we're going to get fucking Keir Starmer live.
He will announce that Labour would scrap the government's Rwanda scheme and use some of the money saved to fund, I quote, an elite border security command. Well, let's cross to Dover now and just show you the live images from
That means they
Dover,
get
where
extra
expecting
special
Keir Starmer.
uniforms.
Also speaking this morning, Natalie Elphicke, the MP for
She
Dover.
looks like
There
a
she
fucking
is.
lion.
Freshly
Look
switched
at that
over from the
mane.
Conservative Party to Labour on Wednesday during Prime Minister's questions.
Pearl
Following her
necklace
will be
and
Yvette
a
Cooper.
lion's mane.
But let's take a little
Love it.
listen to what Natalie Elphicke is having to say.
Great optics.
It's clear that Rishi Sunak has failed to keep our borders secure and cannot be trusted. A fresh approach is needed.
Oh my God, is that hard that went Labour?
At its heart,
Labour! This is so... Oh, I can't pause it. This is Sir Keir's Labour. Oh, what? I don't know what's best for the peasants. Okay? What?
I'm delighted to be joined in Dover today
You
by
are
the Labour
kidding
leader, Keir
me
Starmer,
on.
and the Shadow
You used to
Home
have to
Secretary,
have some
Yvette
sort of
Cooper.
working class
And with that,
fucking
I'll now
accent
hand over to
and no
Yvette.
fucking public acts. Oh! I'm not... Oh, fucking just peeheed.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Natalie.
She looks like a fucking cock. She looks like an orange on a fucking cocktail stick.
With Natalie, who, as Dover's MP, has seen the consequences of dangerous...
She looks like a fucking olive on a cocktail stick. I'm going to call her Olive Heed.
For many years, and has
Peaheed
concluded
Olive Heed.
that Rishi
Pick
Sunak's
your pick.
approach is not working and is supporting Labour's approach. We welcome Natalie to Labour.
Oh.
And we hope that across
One of
the
my
country,
favourite things to do.
people who did not vote Labour in the last election
Can't quite do it
will
now.
be ready
Is
to
use
support us this
Snapchat
time
filters
to deliver
on your
the
screen as you're
change
watching
Keir
these
is
people,
leading,
man, and it's
and
fucking,
that
I
our
find it
country
hilarious, but
so
I entertain
desperately
myself.
needs. Dangerous boat crossings are undermining our border security and putting lives at risk. Just a few weeks ago, a 7-year-old girl was crushed to death in a smuggler
Fuck's sake,
boat.
man. I have
One of
some
5
fucking
people
crushed 7-year-old with your fucking breakfast. How'd you like them apples? Good morning. Have some dead 7-year-old with your fucking cornflakes.
Neighborhood in the western part of the city.
Right, they're going to be doing all the Rafah jazz. What's that? Eurovision push. Let's go live and rewind. They're probably going to be doing
to the country. Is about to say.
You ready? 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 It's like a fucking nightclub. Hello!
Live from London, this is BBC News. The Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is about to set out his party's plans to deal with people arriving across the English Channel in small boats. The UK is officially out of recession after figures show the economy is growing again.
Wow, a whole
The Duke and Duchess
0.6%.
of Sussex arrive in Nigeria for a 3-day visit to the
That's
country.
what my penis enlarger fucking promised me, man. Still yet to see the results.
You're watching BBC News. I'm Regini Vaidyanathan. Before
Hi,
we hear
Regini.
from Sir Keir Starmer, let's take you straight to Abuja, Nigeria. Prince Harry is speaking.
No, where are we at in Abuja?
We're not sure. Because in some places around the world, in more than you would believe, there is a stigma when it comes to...
Right, what's the bet in Sky News? Didn't do anything about that. Oh, there's Sky News there live. If they done it in the top right. Or is that Sir Keir? That's another talking head saying who could be.
Something we are still relatively unsure of. But guess what? Every single person in this room
Can't even hear a word he said. So the only criticism I've got about Harry and, what is it, Meghan? Get your audio sorted, you pair of fucking twits. She's in the fucking film industry, man. She should have Hollywood over there putting on a Hollywood production. So, thank you, Harry.
is a bad day. Okay? And you woke up...
Okay, I heard that. Right, let's see. News alert from Sky News. So you know it's an alert.
The issue of migration, what is happening with the small boats crisis. And as you say, Labour have put some flesh on the bones, if you like, in regards to what would happen when they scrap the Rwanda plan.
Oh, right.
That is essentially what they plan to do.
The word's only coming out as move. Are they actually using a human puppet now?
We'll hear details from Sir Keir Starmer in the next couple of minutes to set up what they call as a border security command to ultimately track down on the people smugglers. They say
border security
they will allocate this money to increase the
I don't we just fucking... I think what we need to do is get a Judge Dredd. We give him laser guns.
And indeed, we
I
can
think he'll take care of the problem. And you know what this will do? Cost every cunt more money. Cost a lot more money than tent cities and refusing them work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you haven't had plastic surgery, mate. No chance.
Thank you, Mike, for those words. What a fantastic campaign you are running. Thank you, Natalie. It's fantastic to be in your constituency. Welcome to the Labour Party. It's so great to have you on board. And Yvette, thank you for not just your words, but all the work
your pea heads.
over such
You look like an olive on a cocktail
this
stick.
important brief and this important challenge. And it's great to be here on a sunny day in Kent, the Garden of England. And I used to play football around here for years. The uncompromising, no-nonsense, hard-knocks training school of the Kent Boys League. So I'm very familiar with this part of the world.
Is he being
But after
sarcastic
the
there?
elections last week, I have to say,
The hard knock Kent boys.
are increasingly
Hello!
unfamiliar with.
Hello!
A
We
campus
are
not just green
the
and
Kent
pleasant,
boys.
but now also turning red. And by the way, on a day like this, I really am sorry that we're doing this indoors, but we'll be out there before too long.
Yeah.
But today we are here.
I want
on
him to be
serious
doing a short show as well because I do
because
want to get
this is a
out.
community on the front line of one of the gravest challenges.
Right. We can tune in later for the highlights. They're doing the same. Al Jazeera, they're live in that gaff. Where's that? Man, I know where that is. But
said, among other things, that he expects that after the war in Gaza is over, that there will be some
it'll be one of
type
the bordering
of
places
civilian government or
along Gaza.
administration set up, that he expects that perhaps Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates might be involved as international.
They've encircled them, cut off all the crossings. The strikes they're doing now are no doubt on tunnels they think exist. And then they're going to move in and try and slaughter every last one of them. It seems like unless something happens, that's what Israel's going to do. In fact, this sounds fucked up, but if the bookies took bets, that's where my money would be. Morning, DJ. Let's have a wee shift.
Attacks are actually were maintained against
starting to
Yahya City and even Jabalia refugee camp, whereas multiple residential buildings were
The
founded
sun's
by
went
the
away a
Israeli
wee bit.
strikes.
But pure blue skies earlier, you bastard. Oh no, but the BBC weather report's right. It's meant to be sunny as fuck. What time did it say? Show me bread. It'd make me fucking starving.
Occupied Palestine. In our Explainer program, we've taken a closer look at this land route and who's responsible for the traffic.
Who's that going to do there? Where? Right, raining, thundering for the next week solid, but today, sun is shining. I thought it was going to be raining for the old firm, motherfucker. 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Try and get mass to the gym. Be a wee I'll do it quick smart because I know there's a wee bit. Plus, the one I want to go to, the sun doesn't hit this side of the building until after 12 bells. We are about 1-ish actually.
Bahrain to the Middle East and Europe. This includes export from Israel and Egypt to
Beer
Asia and to the
gardens.
Far East.
Fucking people are like flies around shite with beer gardens in days like this, man. Honestly, you need to get
significant reduction in transport times. You even talk about
a chance I might
of
body
up to
swear.
80% if the services used. Well, Israel was forced to speed up the land route through West Asia due to the Yemeni targeting of Israeli-bound vessels and linked ships. Just last week, Yemen announced its fourth phase.
Yemen still doing their shit in the Red Sea. You don't hear that anywhere else. Oh, it's probably buried in the news cycle, right? It probably gets reported. But how many weeks or months ago was it where that was top of the news cycle? Because that's what was the main shit going on. Because that was in retaliation because must have been going on for some time now. October.
You see there. And the different ports that are in that area.
6-7 months.
There's also a connection to Egypt that you see. The Red Sea to the left is completely bypassed, but it doesn't really make up for the water transit to occupied Palestine. All of this comes at a cost for Israel. You can see over here, Israeli imports and exports, nearly 99% of it actually travels through these waterways and shipping. Imports include much of its food supplies, which Israel can't produce. Damage to the Israeli economy's GDP is estimated to be around $12 billion, and that's from October 7th up till now. Price of the goods that are imported, a whopping 300% increase. Now the double standards. All of these countries, signatories of the Abraham Accords, are making their land available for the transport of goods to occupied Palestine, publicly blasting Israel for the genocide taking place, but yet they have their trade with the Israeli regime. They can easily sanction Israel if the willpower was there, yet they opt to continue trade with the regime. One country, however, has not signed on to the Abraham Accords, and that is Saudi Arabia. Now, the U.S. is pushing very hard to make that happen through economic incentives. This particular view that you have here of this map is called the IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Proposed route from India to Europe through the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and Greece also destinations along the route. However, the project has failed so far. Digging beneath the surface of this land route, the U.S. and Israel have ulterior motives. In the case of the U.S.-backed IMEC trade route, it aims to challenge China's Belt and Road Initiative that you see here. One of them, obviously, is the fact that it travels through the Islamic Republic of Iran to take a jab at Iran, and also for the U.S. to prevent the economic expansion of China, especially in West Asia.
Nearly 2,000 Columbia University alumni in the U.S. have vowed to end all financial and academic support for the university. Now, they say they will go ahead with this decision unless students' demands, especially with respect to cutting university ties with Israel, are met. Alumni made this announcement in a letter to the university president. They said that Columbia must divest from all companies and institutions that fund or profit from Israeli apartheid, genocide, and occupation in Palestine. They also want university to drop all charges and disciplinary actions against pro-Palestine students while ending the presence of police on campus. The university's been also urged to hold accountable those faculty members, administrators, and other officials who have harassed or assaulted students. Over 1,700 alumni have so far signed the letter, and the decision will put at risk a total of nearly $75 million in financial contributions to the university. The figure will continue to rise as expected. The number of signatories are expected to increase. Austrian police have shut down pro-Palestinian encampments at the University of Vienna after 3 days.
Oh
5
my
activists
lordy
were
lord, oh
arrested
lord, oh
during a
lord,
late-night
man.
crackdown by police on campus.
Aye,
Our
here goes
correspondent
the good mood.
reports out of Vienna.
Fucking moron.
Late at night on Wednesday, dozens of police vans arrived on the campus at the University of Vienna,
Hey.
the Austrian capital, where
Press
students
TV.
set up camp in support of Palestine. Camps had been set up on Monday and remained peacefully despite severe pro-Israeli provocations and aggressions. Over 100 police officers surrounded the camps, which had attracted hundreds of activists and supporters.
Al
With the help
Houthi,
of several drones
US
from
trying
the
to
air,
decrease
the
public
police shut down
opinion
the
by
camp.
warning against
I was at the camp. I was discussing
Al
with some
Houthi.
friends, and
Bottom
I
tagline down the
saw
bottom.
several police vans and cars roll up. I think I counted 7 police vans and 2 cars.
That in Ireland?
Out of which came maybe 30.
Oh, you'll get lots of
40
support for
police
fucking
officers. They surrounded
Palestine
the camp,
over in
and
Ireland,
they
that's
let
for
us
sure,
know
man.
that we
Eh,
had 15
in
minutes
Ireland for
to clear it,
Palestine.
and then they went in, and I saw them go in for whoever was left. They also had dogs and drones, and it was just incredible the amount of police officers.
Within half an hour, hundreds of pro-Palestinian supporters and activists spontaneously assembled and chanted in protest of the police action outside the campus gates for hours. Some students refused to leave the camp and were carried out by the police. One even climbed up a tree. Some arrests were made. A police spokesperson told press
Oh, get down for that tree.
Following an intelligence service
Arrested.
assessment and students chanting slogans related to Palestine.
Were chants in relation to Palestine and some of the criminal offences. For this reason, we decided to break down the assembly.
Students at the peaceful encampment had demanded that the University of Vienna immediately
Jesus
end all
wearing-
cooperation with the Israeli research institutions and immediate
Jesus
ceasefire
sandal
and
wearing
end to the
hippies,
genocide
man.
in Gaza.
On the
This
third
is
day,
a time
police cleared the pro-Gaza
honoured
encampment in the University of Vienna in the middle
clash
of
of
the night. 4 students were arrested.
left versus
Hundreds
right, isn't
assembled
it?
for a spontaneous demonstration protesting the camp closure and in support of those who have been arrested. Several dozen activists blocked the street in downtown Vienna until the early morning hours. Dieter Reinisch reporting
Vienna?
for Press TV from Vienna.
Well, that must have been Ireland.
Islamic resistance in Iraq has carried out a series of missile and drone attacks against Israeli targets across occupied Palestinian territories. The Islamic resistance said its latest operation hit Israel's Ali Filet military base and the Ovda air base with drones. The resistance drones also target Leviathan gas platform as well as a military base. in
That's
the
off the
Eilat
cycle
port. Now,
of
earlier in the day, resistance
the,
had also
the
targeted
top of the
Israel's
news
Nevatim
cycle
air base
on
and
the
a vital
British
target
Western
in
press
Eilat
as well.
before with drones as well. It also hit an oil terminal in Ascalon port with a cruise missile. The group said attacks are in response to ongoing massacres committed by Israel against Palestinian civilians and vowed to continue these operations. In recent months, the Islamic resistance in Iraq has also hit American military bases in Iraq and neighboring Syria in retaliation.
Reminds
for
me, I
Washington's
used to love a
support
game
for
called
Israel's
Command and
genocide
Conquer
in
back in the
Gaza.
day, man. You can still play it every now and again. There'd be like the
Scholars
Soviets
and
and the
politicians have
Allies.
considered the role and responsibility of
And have
academic
different kind
institutions
of
during
weapons and
times
all
of
that.
genocide. Now this, as students globally,
Learn
including
what was
those
good
in the
where and
U.S.,
all that
have
jazz.
risen up against the silence of universities over the ongoing Israeli massacre of Palestinians.
So
Now, the
it seems
University
like
of
now it'd be a game of
Johannesburg
like
severed all
Iran
ties with Israeli
and its
institutions back in
proxies are rolling out
2011.
these
And
hundreds,
is
if not
now
thousands,
asking
if not
South
hundreds
African
of thousands
universities
of
to
these
respect
drones.
a global push by
Oh, drones
students
is
and follow suit. As
remote
Hassan
control
Syria
aeroplanes,
reports.
really, aren't they? Wee small things with explosive payloads.
Amidst the realms of education, media, and states, there's a collective moral duty, and that's a commitment to humanity. This insight crystallized during the
Johannesburg?
second annual Shireen Abu Akleh Memorial Lecture, hosted by the University of Johannesburg.
I'm alright, pal. Is he still chatting? Oh, fuck. Right, what's the highlights? BBC.
So yes, we need more cooperation on illegal
More than
migration.
84,000 in
partnership with
2003,
Europol.
under 100,000 in
access to real-time
2022.
intelligence
Small
sharing
boats,
networks that
not
are
big
so
boats,
crucial
up to
to our security,
45% of 2002
which
claims.
the government so casually threw away as part of its
Processes
botched Brexit
can
deal.
take months, even
And
years.
that's why
current
I've already been to The Hague with Yvette to start pushing for a new security pact with our European partners. But look, it is also my firm belief, based on years of experience in this area,
Mate, you're too fat, man. You're like, you probably can't breathe, man. Like, his fucking neck's spilling over the collar and everything.
Now, in some areas of criminal activity, now counter-terrorism is the most obvious. We
Russia
have made
is on the move.
that
Hopefully,
the
it'll
crime
increase Scotland.
justifies tougher measures.
You never know, buddy. You never know.
And make no mistake, we have reached that moment with illegal migration. These vile people smugglers are no better than terrorists. They're a threat to our national security and a threat to life. And it's time we treated them as such. That means new powers that, as with would-be terrorists,
I have
can
the
be
power!
used pre-conviction with High Court approval that can limit the ability of the gangs to conduct their vile business before arrest. Powers that will allow us to shut off internet access,
Give a left
close their
government
bank
more
accounts,
power. What can
trace their
possibly go wrong?
movements using information provided by the intelligence services. Or powers like stop and search at the border, or raiding and seizing evidence before an offence has taken place. Let me explain why. Because seriously, we use the term small boats, but the boats are not, for the most part, that small. The gangs now use dinghies
Fuck out of his
that are on a
speech.
scale way beyond anything you would see for legitimate recreational activity. And we should be working with our European partners to seize those boats, seize material here in the UK to collect further evidence, turn over every stone, use every reasonable power. And that is my message to the smugglers. These shores will become hostile territory for you. We will find you, we will stop you, we will protect your victims. With the Border Security Command, we will secure Britain's borders.
You know, all the hoo-ha about people dying in boats that's been in the top of the new cycle, it's been there for ages, ever, if you want.
And we will also
and the reason it's been recently been getting stuck to the top of the news cycle is becoming into focus, isn't it?
Rules-based asylum
It's
system.
to,
I believe that a system that processes claims quickly
it's
and
to allow
humanely,
this crap in it.
and that finds ways, without squeamishness or cruelty, to detain and remove people who have no right to be here, is essential for security, fairness, and justice. It is a form of deterrence in itself. Because until we're seen around the world as a country that has a firm grip of the process at our border, until we're busting the Home Office backlog, arriving at decisions quickly without a fuss, so we can return people who have no right to be here, then yes, Britain will be seen as a soft touch. And it goes without saying, we do not have that effective deterrence at our borders at the moment. Our rules-based asylum system isn't working. Ask anyone in this part of the world. That much is obvious. So it's not hard to see why the Prime Minister might want a path to deterrent without the hard graft, the boring graft perhaps, of fixing the wider system. But I'm afraid, like so much of what he says these days, it's magical thinking, a symbol of the unquenchable Tory desire for the shortcut, the easy fix, the sticking plaster, gimmicks, not serious government. Let me spell it out again. A scheme that will remove less than 1% of arrivals from small boat crossings a year cannot and never will be an effective deterrent. It's an insult to anyone's intelligence. And the gangs that run this sick trade are not easily fooled.
I'm thinking about going to a Celtic shop tomorrow
by allowing vast numbers of people into the country
Telling them
via
I'm
this
just
route,
realising it's kind of big
running up a
Celtic shop
perma-backlog of
tomorrow.
nearly
I don't know
100,000
whether we're in a Rangers top. It would be like
refusing
literally
to
wearing
process
a
the
Rangers
claims,
top into a
so that
Celtic
even
fucking
if they have absolutely
kinda,
no right
no,
to be here,
100%
they
like
cannot be removed.
close.
Billing the
Debating it, man.
taxpayer for expensive
It's a
hotel
nice day, but
accommodation.
it's maybe raining tomorrow.
Because
It'll
like
be
Hotel
alright. We'll keep my
California, there's no prospect
zip
of
up
ever
if he's
leaving.
being in, we win, no black.
No prospect of a decision.
What was the
for-
fucking Full Monty fucking song?
Then let me be clear. The
I'll
government
take
has
my
achieved
fucking
the complete
my
opposite of
tracky
what they
cap
claim.
off, man, when it's
A
fucking
travel-lodge
when Rangers win. When
handed out
Rangers
by the
win,
Tory
of course.
party.
Right,
And that is
so
warmer and safer.
why can politicians say so much and say so little? Alright, you're going to create a border force, great. We get it. More money, right? We're going to define more, we get more money, and we're going to go after the smugglers, not people in the boats. Right, what are you going to do with all the people in the boats? Anyway, we'll get highlights towards the end of the hour. Russia is on the move. Anyway. Right. Shit. Right. Shit, means it's just still saying processing. Because kinda recently I had a fucking Amazon package stole from my fucking front door. Fucking thieving fucks. And it's never happened before. And I've recently got new neighbours. Go figure. Anywho, what am I trying to do here? Oh, that's what I was trying to do. So,
and uphold this country's fine
Iran,
tradition
Iranians
of
make up
providing
12%
sanctuary
of
for
our.
people
Oh, they've got to get
fleeing
Iran in the mix, ain't they?
But
Turkish
this is a
11.
debate that has been captured by polarising
Iran
voices.
and Turkey kick out all
So
the
every solution must run a gauntlet of bad faith objections just to get a hearing.
arseholes and send them to
On
Britain.
one side of the debate,
Destabilising our
people
country.
who claim they
Weapons
want
of
to
war.
reform the asylum system, but in fact they want to get rid of it. People who believe, based on their principles, that people should be able to move across the globe wherever, whenever, and however they want. No matter that, in this age of insecurity especially, that would lead to chaos, that quite apart from any other objections, does nothing to advance global justice. Meanwhile, on the other side of the debate, some people pretend they want to reform asylum, when what they really want is for the British state to act with impunity, to tear up rules.
I'm already thinking about the beer
because
garden, man.
ultimately, they do not want us to take in any asylum seekers whatsoever. I don't think there's many Tories who truly believe that. But what I do think is that they're too weak to admit that plainly, too weak to say that this is not and never should be a world we live in. Because Britain should show leadership on global issues that drive insecurity and migration. Britain should step up to tackle climate change, famine, and conflict. We do have a duty to work with other nations. And the state should not have untrammeled power against minorities or anyone. Our rules-based system should align.
Oh
with
my
global
god, hold on, stop, the world is ending.
individual human rights. That is in our interest.
I agree with Sir Keir Starmer there. But, like, it's the disco dance, innit? They offer you a fucking absolute atrocious fucking thing that nobody should ever accept. The Rwanda scheme. And then he comes in and offers you something that isn't as bad, but equally as fucked up. And everybody's like, well, okay then, that's not as bad as the Rwanda scheme. Everyone's a winner, baby. Fucking now we'll get super police, we'll get what? The elite squads patrolling our border, hunting people down in France and shit. Good stuff. I hope they get Bergerac in on it.
and the right thing to do.
Right, I don't know whether to...
And so rebuilding our asylum system has become a test of political strength, a trial of leadership to resist the voices who fundamentally do not want to build a functioning asylum system. A question: can you prioritise at all times the politics of practical solutions? And can you reject the politics of performative symbols?
I've got the devil on my shoulder right now, man, like fucking food.
Now, this is the story of what has happened to this government. The explanation of how a party that cares about illegal migration, there's no doubt about that, finds itself with a record of failure as total and stark as this. It isn't just rank incompetence, though it is that. It's also about who the Tories are now. And I'm afraid to say it's also about our politics as a whole. A culture that's part of the water in Westminster, that rewards the grand gesture, the big talk, while disregarding the
what the fuck is this then? How long's this talk been going on for?
A nation forward step by step. Take Northern Ireland. Because in my lifetime, there is no more powerful example than that. And I was there, in the room, helping create a police service that could work for all communities, trying to move a nation slowly but surely towards the hard work.
Before I was Cirque here, I was making sure that Jimmy Savile wasn't getting prosecuted by the authorities, and then presided over the cover-up, which happened. You know, whose names to leave in, whose names to leave out. Great job here, Stammer. Here's a Sir Ship or whatever. Let's the fucking Queen hit you with the fucking sword and no chop your head off.
If I earn that privilege,
here, Sakir, you want a second fucking Sir Ship and Mallard? I've got a claymore up here, man. I'll fucking knight you.
Not just on small boats, not just on migration.
Help!
On everything.
Help! There's been an accident.
I don't know if that's a new politics or whether it's a return to the bare minimum you should expect. But if you vote Labour, that is what you will get. And if you don't believe me after 14 years of broken promises from the Tories, that's understandable.
What's happening?
But as the country's chief prosecutor, I smashed
the
terrorist gangs.
Getting
and I
the
know
video
feed
the
people smuggling
from somewhere else. AP,
I dragged my party away from the allure of gesture politics, and I will do exactly the same to Westminster. No more gimmicks. The character of politics will change. And through that, we will deliver.
I'll crack the jokes, pal.
An NHS back on its feet. More
and the
opportunity
sun
in your
and the
community,
rain at
cheaper
this end of the rain. There'll be gold, pots of gold
an asylum
at the
system
end of the rainbow.
rebuilt, the criminal gangs smashed, the exploitation of some of the most vulnerable people in the world prevented.
I'm pretty sure the Conservatives said that. Pretty much the same. And before that, Tony Blair said the exact same shit. This is... I ain't got a great memory, but I remember that shit.
That is what serious
I
government
get sucked in with Tony Blair, and he was an awakening for me, as I seen him, the sun shining out his mouth, and him doing nothing that he says on the tin. That was boring.
Thank you all very much. I'm now going to take a number of questions from the media. I'm starting, Beth, with you, Beth from Sky.
Thank you.
How did you end up with a face like an LP Dwelly book?
The big talk tough, the talk big and do nothing type of rhetoric around small boats. So let me ask you this.
Big boats!
Boat crossings hit 30,000 people in 2023. If you win an election, what's your target number for crossings by the end of 2026 once your scheme is up and running? And last week,
you told me you wouldn't continue the Rwanda scheme, but you did not commit to stopping flights on day one of a Labour government. So will you commit to that right now? Thank you.
Well, Beth, on the numbers, we've got to get those numbers down materially. I think, let's be absolutely clear, nobody should be making that perilous journey. It's not in anybody's interest, and nobody who's serious about politics should suggest otherwise. It is not progressive or compassionate to allow people to cross in that way and to lose control of our borders. So we need to bring those numbers down drastically. The question is how we do it. It is a trade that's being run by gangs. And I absolutely refuse to accept that it's not possible to take those gangs down. Now, I spent 5 years...
Like the drug gangs, you know, the ones that have never thrived so much.
Terrorist gangs, and to take down gangs that were running guns.
Yeah, it's like all the terrorist gangs that we've took down that are doing so badly, you know.
These gangs are more sophisticated than the gangs that we took down, the terrorist gangs. So I refuse to accept that this is impossible, which is why we want to set up this command. I refuse to accept this work can't be done. I refuse to accept that these boats, which are basically being made to order, can't be intercepted. They're being held on the continent and brought to the north coast of France.
Maybe EP,
So
I'll need to see what happens, man.
this
My
can be
plan
done.
is
Set
hitting a
those
beer
numbers
garden and taking
We will
it from
scrap
there.
the Rwanda scheme. I said that to you
I'll
when we
be-
last met last week.
I'll
the
be
time
doing
we
well
last.
if I even touch base with the
and,
gym, man.
you know, that means
To be
ending the
honest.
scheme absolutely, flights and all. It is not going to
fucking
work. It is an
trying to keep
absolute waste of
Greg's and
money.
everything out
It
my
is a
fucking
gimmick, not a
off my
solution.
radar right
And
now, man.
The last point of my speech is to take, I'm not prepared to have a government as we've got
Why
one,
the
that is run on gimmicks, because that is not...
Sir Keir's on the gear!
so
Sir
desperately needed.
Keir's on the gear!
Thank you
He
so much,
can't
Beth.
breathe
And
through
look,
his nose because he is full of gear.
Anoush Kristana, ITV News. Keir Starmer, you clearly want to reach out across the aisle, but how far are you prepared to stretch? Is Nigel Farage welcome in this new Labour Party? Your shadow health secretary has suggested maybe we should draw the line at Liz Truss.
Is he
so
laughing?
is everyone with politics up to her welcome?
Well, look, I'm very pleased to welcome Natalie to the Labour Party. You heard for yourself the reasons that she took a very difficult step. It's a very difficult thing to cross the floor of the House of Commons from one party to another.
No, it's just a
Nobody
walk.
just does it without a huge amount of thought. And Natalie's conclusion, having thought about this profoundly, is that Rishi Sunak has effectively lost control of the borders and that the Tory party is characterised by incompetence and the Labour Party has changed. I think that's a very powerful thing to have said. It's testament to the hard work
Nigel
that we've been doing
Farage.
in the Labour Party.
Like AP,
And
I
this
think
changed Labour
the
Party
kind of
ought to be
the
where
idea
reasonably
behind
minded
suggesting that is because
Whichever way they
the one that
voted
did
in the past,
switch
feel that they could
parties
join with our project to
apparently
change
was
the
a
country for the better.
very
And
right
so it is an
of the in the
invitation
Conservative
that we
Party.
should
Some
be less
might say
tribal
far
in the pursuit
right.
of a better country.
No, far right,
And
just right.
invite people to our party who want to join.
Stick
in
that
our
on a
project
t-shirt,
to
sell it,
better
Tommy
And I'm very
Robinson rally,
pleased,
man, make it
to be able to extend that invitation, not just to Labour voters, but people who voted for other parties in the past.
And
because
I need to hit a
genuinely
beer
believe
garden.
that reasonable-minded
But also
people
want to wait in
want
for
their
my Rangers
country
talk.
to do better, want progress for themselves, their families and their communities, and that they will want to join the hard
have
work, not the gimmicks, the hard
intelligence
work
back.
that this new Change Labour Party will bring about. Thank you.
Yes, nice one.
And look, I'm not going to go into...
Just got, just had my intelligence officer there tell me that the guy can put the Rangers tap through the fucking letterbox. So I'm no chained.
Nigel Farage won't want to join Labour. But
hear.
there is a serious underpinning point that actually, if we're to renew our country, we do need to ensure that we carry as many people with us as possible. And I genuinely think that most reasonably minded people across...
Here, man, I'll have my fucking sliders in my gym bag, so it's a nice day and I've managed to get a pew in the beer garden. I might put my sliders on.
What I want is a decade of...
Fit right in the fucking hipster paradise, man. See kids walking about with Crocs and all that. Crocs are the most disgusting, fucked up fucking...
No bones about that. That may be because I came into politics later.
Aye, that's alright, intelligence officer.
Whole sort of years in the tribal politics.
Aye, and no offence to anybody that's got Crocs, because everybody cunts get Crocs nowadays, man. I don't know why, I just think, what the Fucking, they look like fucking some mouldy fucking bit of plastic. Fucking the communists, the communists fucking 40 million years ago in Russia. What? I are fucking.
BBC News. Can I push you, Keir Starmer, on the
The communist issued fucking
looks like
rubber fucking shoes.
Numbers down materially. What does that mean? Does that mean
How did I get any crocs?
crossings? Does that mean
Anyway.
eradicating them entirely within a first Labour term? And to be specific about
Why
the
the fuck do they keep
cancellation
going on about
of
small
the
boats?
Rwanda scheme.
Brown men in boats.
Can you answer
I
it
cover all
specifically?
fucking
Does that
angles, know what I'm
mean
saying?
No flights
Right.
taking off from the moment.
See,
you
I
become
tell the truth more than the
Let
BBC.
me deal with those in two parts. Look, we do need.
Do you think the BBC would get into trouble if they said brown people,
Obviously, I'd like it
brown
to
people
come
in
down
boats?
completely. I'm not going to put a false number in it, but I'm not going to shy away from the fact that this needs to materially reduce. These numbers need to come right down, and to do that, we have got to stop the vile trade that is running it in the first place. Now,
Yeah, like the drug trade, you know. Scotland's fucking worst fucking drug hole in the fucking Europe. Grand job, fucking governments.
You stop, in a terrorist case, you stop a planned operation or whatever it may be. One of the proudest things I did at the Crown Prosecution Service was...
Turn your phone off when the dear leader is speaking.
7 aeroplanes at the same time as they were crossing the Atlantic.
Check out...
You can take very effective action and therefore to reduce those numbers. But it does require serious
Natalie's
coordination,
husband,
serious action of the sort that we've set out today. And
I
this is
have
the
not
complete
been to the
opposite.
bungee
I'm
jump
not
forest, but
pretending this isn't
that's
hard work. That's why I said at the beginning.
that's on my
not gonna
bucket
pretend this is
list,
an easy
right?
thing. You just
Getting
flip the
spanked
switch and
off
do it.
a
But it
porn
is
star
hard work
with a
based on my
magazine with my
experience
face on it.
of having done
That's
this
on my
in
bucket
relation
list.
to other gangs.
And
And I said, not
bungee jumping,
this
defo.
outfit, this
But
operation is any more
kind of like
sophisticated
Sky,
than the ones that I've already
if I win the
had to deal with,
lottery
as
or
others have
come into a
done.
lot of
But look,
cash.
as far as Rwanda is concerned,
Bungee jumping,
we
one of
will,
them.
cancel
Skydiving,
the scheme.
another. But I'd need to
Don't
be
think the
honest
policy,
with the people that were
is
taking up
going
and
to
like,
work.
you're going to have to
It
throw me out.
costs a fortune. So, of course,
Yeah, I'm
that
going to
means,
just throw me.
operate the scheme
Fucking
at all.
push me, man. And I don't think you can do that. I think you need to do it. And I think when they're like, you get the one that's straddling you, you know, when you're jumping out a plane, they can kind of waddle you.
Because the president has chosen to put his political capital,
Fuck me, man. But damn fucking Putin, man.
I would put
That's
my
on the
political
bucket list.
capital
Sorry, Sir Keir,
into
you're
the
fucking
setting
so
up the command,
out of a
working
task,
with our
man.
government to ensure that it works effectively. And that is about choice, but that's the choice I would make. Thank you, Chris. Natasha from LBC.
Afghans top nationality made that into a shithole. Iranians arriving, they're sending us their shite. Turkey sending us their shite because they're at war with us.
100 days.
Makes
And
perfect
just on the
sense to me.
reaction
Those
from your own
demographics add
MPs
up.
to Natalie
Why are all these
Ashton,
brown
it's been
people on
one
boats coming
of
here?
shock and
Because
anger
we're
for a lot
turning
of
their
MPs.
homelands
Jess
into
Phillips has
shitholes.
said
And
it's
we're
like
at
being
war
punched
with
in
our
the
fucking
gut
their
when MPs
homelands, so the
report to have
homelands are
cried
quite
in the
happy to
news.
kick out all
Are
their
you concerned that she makes you a very easy
idiots,
target for Tory
useless
political attacks
cunts,
and makes
send
you
them
look
to
like a man
Britain?
that doesn't stand?
Yeah, useless cunts. Here's a wee bit of cash. Here's the boat. Go to Britain. This helps destabilise our enemy.
Policy, I don't think it's going to work, which is going to
Ain't
cost
rocket science.
I'd rather
And
use the money
remember
that's
where
being thrown
fucking
at the
Turkey
Rwanda
is?
scheme and put it
Turkey's
behind the command
the
of the
Asia-Europe
And the
border,
command
innit?
can be set up very, very quickly as well. It doesn't require primary legislation. Some of the powers I've outlined are already in primary legislation. Others will require some legislation, which I think we can pass very quickly. So I see this as a very fast timetable to get this off the ground.
Pretty sure
And in relation
will be on
to
this ticket
Natalie,
as well.
look, this is a very important and significant crossing of the floor for the reasons that Natalie has set out. And I think anybody reading the words she said this morning would be persuaded that this is a very significant thing. You've got a Tory party that is losing votes, losing MPs, losing councillors, losing mayors across the country.
Fucking video
It's
again,
a
or what? It
Conservative
looks these
party that's on its
lip
last
syncing.
legs. It's out of road, out of ideas, and that is why I genuinely think the mood of the country, and Natalie has picked up on this, is for change and a general election. And that's why nobody can understand.
Woohoo! See if it comes in June or July. I win the dough. Hold on, I'll show you, man.
Possibly can. He should do the decent thing. Read the room and call a general election. Thank you, Natasha. John from the Mirror.
Hi, John Stevens from the Daily Mirror. Do you think that safe and legal routes should play a role in stopping the channel crossings?
Right.
Look, I mean, we have, when Afghanistan Hong Kong have
Right, don't
been
laugh at
set
that.
up. But I think the main,
Don't
the
laugh.
better, the
All
really
good
most
faith.
effective way to stop the crossings is to break the gangs that are running this in the first place. Because they are making a huge amount of money exploiting
Right.
very vulnerable people.
I don't know why they've not took
and
that off,
they're
but
doing
anyway.
that with thinking that they've got
That was
impunity.
an accident.
And that is going to be the
Drunk.
most effective way to
And
stop
I had
this
Nigel
vile
Farage
trade.
and
And that's
Bobo
why I put
Johnson,
all of
next
my
Prime Minister
focus
after
today,
Sunak.
We'll put
But-
political
and the chance that they would
behind
replace him
the measures I've
before the
outlined.
general election,
Thank you, John.
technically making them
Martina from the Sun.
Prime Minister.
Thank you. It's Martina Bett from the Sun.
Um,
Justice Secretary Alex
he was
Chalk
100
said
to
today that
1.
he believes European Convention on Human Rights
was
should
'cause I
adapt
thought,
to meet the
that's
migration
the
crisis. Would you be
black dude with the big
ideologically
impressive
opposed
beard,
to
man.
European-wide reform
looks
of the
dead
ECHR?
statesman.
And on the
Esque,
UN
don't know why.
Refugee Convention,
And
do you
then
think there is a need for a new,
April
better
to June.
global asylum framework? Thank you.
So come on, sir,
I think
here.
it's a mistake.
Get on the
to
gear
think that it's the
and call for a general
international,
action.
such as the European Convention on Human Rights, that are the problem. I don't. By the end of this year, there'll be 100,000 people who've arrived whose claims can't be processed. Now, that means they can't be returned. That's not the European Convention that says that. That's because the government's not processing the claim. I'll give you an example. There'll be people there from Bangladesh. In a safe
Oh,
system,
right.
they'll
I know.
process and
Well,
returned
I
to
didn't know her name, mate. I think I
But they'll
clocked her
actually stay
face
in the
earlier.
UK.
But I didn't know her
Because they're
name,
not
buddy.
being
But
processed.
aye, that.
And the government can't say it's the
The
European Convention
turncoat.
that's stopping. They're choosing not to process the claims. 100,000 people. The
Sir
travel
Keir's
log
on the gear.
amnesty.
Sir
What's
Keir's
going to
on the
happen to those
gear.
people?
He can't breathe
We'll
through
pay
his
their
nose because it is full of gear.
And the government's only
Many
answer
come
is,
to
well,
see him. They stand and gaze at all. When
well, to get
they
100,000 people to
realise Sir Keir's on the
on
gear.
the base of the scheme as it now is, would take 300 years. And that assumes nobody comes in those 300 years to add to the 100,000. That is how broken the system is. So Alex Chalk, I respect. But to say that the European Convention of Human Rights is the problem is a broken asylum system. Process the claims and return people who absolutely shouldn't be here. It's not rocket science, it's mundane, but it's the most effective way to deal with this problem. Thank you so much, Martina. Harriet from the Daily Mail.
Harriet Line, Daily Mail. You said you want to replace the Rwanda policy permanently. What are you going to replace it with? Do you actually have a plan to deter migrants, or are you just replicating the small boats command which the government has already introduced?
I think firstly, I think stopping the gangs, get people in boats, is the most effective deterrent. Because you can't actually make the crossing to get here. At the moment, the government is not securing the borders and stopping people arriving in the first place. It's saying, assuming you've got here, because we've lost control of the borders, assuming you've sat here for a considerable period of time, we might send some of you to Rwanda.
So this is
And they
what
say
the
that's
UK
going to
is
be a
getting
deterrent.
told to think about. That's Sir Keir on the gear plan for the UK. Al Jazeera. Is there anything live happening? No, they've just got their second half of the hour news. Go back to old 48 minutes. Can get a wee top of the hour news for the people. There we go, nailed it. Hopefully it works. Oh my god, he looks healthy. I would take, if I was playing the dead body and drink game, oh shit, I forgot to make a new TikTok about, oh fuck, it's not working. There's somebody in the chat called the coronavirus. It's penetrated the consciousness big style, innit? This might be the top of our news. No, that
I'm
would
Rob
have been the
Matheson,
top
and this is
10
Al Jazeera
o'clock.
live from Doha. Also coming up, Israel continues to block humanitarian aid from entering the Strip, leaving the medical system just days away from running out of fuel and supplies.
It kind of makes sense in a military
Israel has to stand
standpoint.
alone.
It's unhumane, but from a military standpoint, it
Prime
makes
Minister
perfect
says
sense.
He hopes to overcome disagreements
What's the
with
point
the
of
US
killing them?
president.
Try to
He
kill
insists
them,
a
then
major
let them go
operation
to
in
hospital.
Rafah will go ahead. Plus,
I'm Rob McBride in Incheon, South Korea, with the record-breaking drone display team sending skyward.
Drones, that's made by drones. That is phenomenal, man. Like, that's made up with hundreds of wee individual fucking drones. That was your UFOs back in the day.
Gaza's southern region of Rafah.
That's what I think. That's my theory about all the UFO sightings and all that.
Monday,
Military testing drone technology. Oh my God, it was moving like that and it didn't make much of a noise. What, like a drone? Aye.
North for help. More than 1.7 million Palestinians have sought shelter and safety in Gaza's southernmost city for months.
Morning, DJ.
Now, on Monday, the Israeli military
That's right,
dropped
my man.
leaflets into
Cool.
eastern
Here's on
parts
the
of
gear.
Rafah, ordering people to evacuate. The Israeli military has now taken control of both the Rafah and Karam Abu Salem border crossings, preventing humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip. Now, the area marked in blue is where Israeli forces are currently stationed. They forced nearly 100,000 Palestinians
focus
to
'cause I'm
flee the
starving.
southern part of the Strip. Hani
I'm
Mahmoud's
still
in Deir
debating
al-Balah,
on
outside
myself
Al-Aqsa
today.
Hospital. Hani, well, what's the situation there as thousands of people flee Rafah?
And you're on.
People are
Pretty sure
actually
this is the one
leaving
that I've done.
Rafah city right now, particularly from the central part of the city as well as toward the western, the evacuation zone. That's
So, according to Al Jazeera, there's still no any aid getting in. This will be a protest that looks like Cambridge, maybe.
From all arms companies. We don't think that universities should be sponsoring conflict anywhere in the world.
America?
The second is specifically that this university divest from all companies that are complicit in Israeli occupation, apartheid,
no, I
and
think that's
genocide in
getting
Gaza. Then we move on to our boycott
translated,
demands,
isn't it?
which again are kind of a boycott of all companies involved, and specifically a demand to drop Barclays Bank, which has been identified by the global BDS movement.
Oh, what's wrong with Scotch, you bitch?
And finally, we call for the
Barclays,
university
Scottish.
to support
Told
the
you you rule the world.
Palestinian-led rebuilding of the Gazan higher education sector.
Meanwhile, the devastation in Rafah has meant thousands of previously displaced families are forced to flee once more in search of shelter in the face of Israeli occupation.
you're telling me
attacks. The UN Children's
Israel
Fund
couldn't do
UNICEF
what they're
says
doing
children are particularly
without the help of
vulnerable.
the Scottish
And while
Bank.
some critical needs are being met, access is becoming increasingly difficult and dangerous.
We don't know where to go. They told us to go to the Al-Mawasi area in Khan Yunis. We really don't know in which direction to go. This is the second time I've been
Barclays
displaced. I
Premiership.
was in Deir al-Balah and our house was bombed and my granddaughter was killed. We have no one to stay with in Deir al-Balah. I was then displaced to Rafah where my second daughter is.
It's just heartstrings, isn't it?
Warning of a
Let's listen to
catastrophic
this.
impact
This
of the
might
Rafah
be
offensive
something interesting.
if it were to be pushed ahead, even by the dire standards already set in Gaza. You said you weren't optimistic earlier, but do you think there will be any last-ditch attempt at stopping this yet worse massacre?
They certainly should be. I mean, I cannot see any more innocent lives taken, any more children. The images that we're seeing, like I said before, I'm still going to remain hopeful. I feel like the veil has been lifted off of Western supremacy ideals. It's the first time in history that we are seeing this happen. The fact that I'm an advocate for students, all the protests in the universities across the Western Hemisphere that are standing up for Palestine right now. It's the first time that we are seeing this happen historically. This has got to mean something.
What do we owe that to? Is it social media? Is it the sheer number of Palestinians, women, children, men, innocent people who have been murdered in the past 7 months?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's the first time that we are seeing this publicly displayed on a wide-scale platform. We have young individuals who are actual activists who want to be part of a better world. This is the greatest thing that we have seen in universities, and I believe that nobody should be saying anything to students anymore. They have stood up for the right cause, and the question will be, what did you do? When history writes its book, what side were you on, and were you on the right side?
And Ali,
Barclays!
Of what it's going to look like, because we've seen enough.
It's a bunch of Scottish
scenes
Freemasons
of
that
murder
started the
and
English
sheer
FA as well.
destruction over the past 7 months.
Check
I
it
mean,
out.
there's no shortage of
The
vocabulary
Freemasons
to
Tavern in the
describe
city of
horror
London. It's no longer
of the
there.
past 7 months. If this onslaught
trivia.
invasion of
Another bit of
Rafah
football
were
trivia.
to
Dundee,
or go ahead,
to show you that
what do you think will happen?
we have Rangers Celtic,
6 million
Edinburgh have
people who
Hearts
are
and Hibs,
trapped
Hibernian,
after having been
and
displaced from the
Dundee
rest
had
of Gaza
Dundee
Strip.
United and Dundee, and they used to be Dundee Hibernian.
As you know, what
Not a lot of
we've
people
seen
know that.
is another chapter of Zionist.
I didn't until the other
attack
night with the
against
bar dude,
Palestinians
is a Dundee fan,
since
goes to all the games now.
1948, and even before with its terrorist organization like the Haganah and the Shtren and others. And we are only few
Maybe
days,
those kind of
away
dynamics
from a Nakba,
happen
which
elsewhere
I
in
call
the
the continuance of resistance.
in the
It will be a very
football
heavy
world.
price, not only for the Palestinian but for the rest of the international community to bear.
Historically,
If Israel
anyway.
continue with its aggression and brutality against the Palestinian in Rafah, because not only they have nowhere to go, but the level of destruction, the lack of medical and basic needs, the dire situation with no shelters.
Right, it's kind of just right. Coming to the top of the hour. It's bleeding your heart, isn't it? It's no that like, it's just disaster stories, man. I'm aware this shit's going on. Oh, they're going to expose propaganda.
Jose presents data and facts that demonstrate how the Washington establishment has suppressed non-violent.
Well, I could say this is kind of propaganda as well, and it's done to you in a kind of play like it's like in a circus. Listen to the funny clown music, children. Boo, 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 boo. It's like RT back in the day used to rap the news to you. These two guys dressing up, and they were rapping like Eminem and like getting in all the Russian Today points of view, and you're like, hey, I like that, man. They're young guys rapping. They're rapping the news. Who doesn't want the news rapped to them and with people in clown suits?
Press TV headlines. Iranians head to the polls and run off parliamentary election.
Fake.
Leader of the
Fake.
Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali
Fake.
Khamenei.
Hey, he's hiding votes in his turban. Fucking see it for here.
Fierce battles have been reported between Palestinian resistance fighters and Israeli occupation forces in the city of Rafah, southern Gaza.
No attacking Rafah. They've got launched an assault on Rafah. All these dead bodies and shit. They're falling out the sky.
To fill the streets of the northern city of Sa'ada in solidarity with Palestinians in war-ravaged Gaza.
So that's kinda what's coming out of there. There's me just rambling on stuff. RT, a wee bit of Ukraine. Press TV touched on. Well, the BBC touched on Rafah, and they beat Sky News, didn't they? They also touched on Harry because he's doing something good in Sky News, didn't they? Press TV, Al Jazeera touched on Rafah. And the UK is no longer in recession, so I'm going to go out and see if my pints are any cheaper. And sun myself. But before we go, let's see if we can catch the top of the hour news for Sky, because they've done away with their DVR. Not VAR, DVR. Easy for me to say. You don't know how wrong it, how hard it is. Aye man, so get out there and sun yourselves, you all. Full nightly. Just trying to figure out what I'm going to eat first. Alright, come on. Sky, what's happening? Spaceballs only works one way. You can only rewind what's already happened. Can't fast forward. It's just the perils of time travel. Only go backwards. Thanks to my flux capacitor and DVR technology. I'm sure it was invented by AI. Don't you just love how it's raining AI nowadays? I think even Elon Musk came out the other day and said that he's moving from being a self-driving car, electric car company to an AI company. And that's where he's going to kind of focus it on, because he's talking about the technology to have self-driving cars as AI when it's just clever algorithms. It's branding, I'm telling you, it's marketing and branding. And he set the conspiratard fucking world on fire. Everybody's thinking Terminator 2, getting worried and all that, when it's just clever algorithms, man. Even the governments and all that are like, oh, with all this AI learning, they ain't learning shit. They've got clever algorithms which remembers what fucking people have done before and can predict the text. See, your predictive text, everybody can kind of logically think how that works, right? It doesn't start from the beginning. It learns and can predict, but it's not artificial. The learning comes from an algorithm which says to a computer chip, see, every time it tips in a wingme, keep a note of it. Right, this isn't self-learning machines and artificial intelligence. Very clever algorithms.
This is Sky News today. It's 11 o'clock.
He's got his pink fucking lipstick on again.
And targeting people smugglers.
Why are they saying small boats?
Plans to tackle the migrant crisis.
That is my message to
Migrant boats.
These shores will
All
become
boats.
hostile territory.
Brown people in
We will
boats.
find you.
Why?
We will
Small
stop you. We will
boats.
protect your victims.
There's something in that, by the way. Time will tell. He's talking about tracking down who's selling the boats and picking up evidence, the boats when they come across, and then going after the people who are selling them. So they'll just fucking
The UK
get a
economy
canoe.
comes out of recession with
That's a
faster
very
than
small
expected
boat.
growth in the first quarter of the year, and cheap imports, labour supply issues, and environmental levies. A Sky News special report on the challenges.
And about Rafah, what about the genocide?
And coming up at 1:30
Sky.
on Business Live with me, Ian
Hello-
King.
hello,
Most
McFly.
better than
Hello,
expected
Sky.
GDP
McFly,
figures. We'll
Sky.
look at what's in store next for the UK economy.
Right, well, I'm going to leave it there because it's too nice out there. Well, aye, it's still relatively nice. But it's meant to get nicer in a couple of hours' time. Ah, look, I'm melting. Look, there's some Casper the Ghost shit there. Doesn't need lighting any good. See, I'm a videographer like Tarly Beach. So thanks for tuning in if you liked today's Daily PoliTITS. Remember, that's what they're telling everybody the world to think about and different ways to think about it. So they might not tell you what to think, but they'll tell you what to think about, and some people will try to tell you how to think about it. And it's interesting doing that, a comparison amongst different spectrum of newsies, you know. It gives you a different flavour, rather than getting stuck in pigeonholes and all that kind of jazz. So make sure if you're in the UK, go out and enjoy the sun, man. Apparently the dumb English are getting it better than us, unfortunately. But that's always the case. And tune in Monday to Friday, 5 to 9, 9 o'clock. If I can't make it, 10 o'clock. For your daily dose of PoliTITS. So if you like politics, but you're sick of the tits, two birds with one stone, watch your PoliTITS. Get your daily fix of your PoliTITS. I need to kind of get that working better. Enjoy your pint. Mags, you need to edit that. Pints. I'll be doing well if when I get there, the weather's a bit pishy and I con myself into going and bartering into the gym for a wee bit, even if it's just for a swim or a bike. And then, because the place I'm eyeing up, but see, like days like this, man, it's like flies round shite, fucking, it's not even a beer garden, it's 2 tables and a few chairs outside a boozer. That isn't on the main drag, it's just half the main drag. So, McVicker, you have a nice one, my man? The Vicar have a nice one. So you're doing a good job to get a spot. But get there early. As I said, man, fucking Glaswegians, days like this, man, flies around shit at beer gardens. And this boozer isn't the biggest of boozers, it's not like a big massive Witherspoons. And it's got some fucking passing traffic. That's why it's good to sit outside. Do a wee bit of watch the wildlife. Always good. Aye, so Monday at 9 bells, everybody have a good weekend. And make sure you sub and bell up, man. If I get half canned, I might fucking have a stupid idea. I need to cross the road. And I wanted to make my dead body and my dead baby and body drinking game TikTok. Just need to think of some funny. Who wants to be a millionaire? Drink. Dead body. Thank you, Mags. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Hopefully catch you on Monday if you want to tune in. Have a nice one. Get it? Catchies.
Clips, clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.
Being held up by invisible men.